Audio check. Looks like I sound good. You are the man. Thank you, intern. Everyone, please share the space. Let's get some people in this room. We got a fun conversation with a good friend of the community, a solid contributor. But as always, guys, let's get this party started with an introduction. For those who don't know, THORChain is the first decentralized exchange to swap real Bitcoin. You can use every Bitcoin wallet in the world, and you don't have to connect it to a website. We will be talking about that later. Same with Ethereum, same with XRP, BNB, Tron, Doge, and many more. Eventually, you'll be able to swap any token from any wallet with any token. That is the goal. It is happening. THORChain is turning into a full layer one where apps can be built on top of it. The new app layer we have unlocks lending, perps, Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, token launchpad, NFT prediction markets, and a lot more. THORChain isn't just a decentralized exchange. It's becoming the protocol of pure, uncensored liquidity. Swapping on THORChain is permissionless. There is no KYC. Anyone in the world can use it. To swap on THORChain, go to THORChain.org, click on swap. New features and functionality will be added to the site over the next few months. There is an email on there, guys. If you incurred any problems whatsoever, please submit an email. Let the devs know. A lot of you have already been doing that, so thank you very much for that. THORChain's token is called Rune. That is spelled R-U-N-E. You don't need to buy or hold Rune to place a swap on THORChain, but the fees deducted from your swap are used to buy Rune, and this is the Rune that goes to liquidity pools and nodes, and there are no block rewards on THORChain. 100% of the yield is real. THORChain is also deflationary, with 5% of the revenue being burned. If you hold Rune on a centralized exchange, you guys, please let's withdraw and put into self-custody, because these tokens can be used to short sell Rune and drive the price down. We don't like that. And once in self-custody, look into bonding your Rune to earn some yield, and help secure the network and help drive up the Rune price. A really good interface for that is runebond.com. Super simple. All you do is find a node, request a whitelist, and then bond your Rune. Super easy. THORChain has another token called TCY. That's Tango Charlie Yankee. This token is kind of like a preferred stock, where 10% of the protocol's revenue goes to these token holders. If you deposited crypto into savers or took out a loan, make sure to claim your TCY tokens, and anyone can buy this token as well. There's a THORChain community Discord and Telegram. You can join to learn all about THORChain and make lots of friends. To find the links, go to @Thor, Thor, @THORcommunity on X. And this space, as always, is geared to anyone in the THORChain journey, whether you're brand spanking new or a hardcore veteran. There will be something for you, and this is an open space, guys. We answer questions as well. My name is Denny. I go by Patriot Sounds as well. I'm talking from the Rune Bond account. Got a little laundry here, and then I'm going to kick it off to Kenton. I think he's on stage right now. If not, we'll get him up here. I wanted to give a special thank you to Reliable Skeptic. In the THORChain Telegram, Reliable Skeptic takes every single space that we do, and they put it into MP3 format, and they just upload it to the Telegram. And that just allows anyone, they don't have to go anywhere. If they go in the Telegram, they just check the pinned messages and they can listen to all of the spaces. That's just so helpful. And of course, with the Coke, he gives me MP3 as well, and uploads it on YouTube, and just things like that just make this community so great. So thank you so much. And one other piece of news I have here, we've had some excellent swap volume through THORChain. A lot through Ledger. And if anyone's listening, if you are using Ledger and you want to save some money, I've seen some multi-million-dollar swaps. I think someone could have saved $30,000 if you had used the THORChain swapping, which is swap.thorchain.org, or just go to thorchain.org and click on swap. You can save a lot of money if you do that. So I highly encourage that. With that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Kenton.
Hey guys, mic check. Can you hear me?
You sound so sexy. Go for it.
Good. Yeah, I've been trying my computer now. See. Hopefully this works better for me. I keep rugging. So I want to say I was around an hour and a half in. I rug, so hopefully my computer will be better. Yeah, my name's Kenton. I have a fund that invests in Rune and runs nodes on THORChain. So I'm a bond provider and node operator on THORChain, and I'm also running the marketing team on THORChain. And give you guys a bit of an update. So Patriot, you mentioned the front end. Yesterday went through the new version, went live yesterday. I'm not really I don't really like want to talk about it or promote it too much because there's still issues with it. But the user flow for entering a swap is much different than it was before. So we kind of, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. You just got to go try it. But basically, trying to kind of separate memoless, like not connecting a wallet and connecting a wallet, like it's just, I think trying to keep them separate or do them, like kind of present them separately just makes it more confusing. Whereas I think the flow we have now is much better, more intuitive, where you can just connect a wallet or not. It just walks you through the steps. And so you can use two wallets that are unconnected, connect one wallet, have one wallet unconnected, two connected wallets, whatever. So hopefully that flow makes more sense. Um, the whole talk about cold swaps, what do we, or any swap, what do we call these, walletless, whatever. The more I think about it and play with it, I think some people said to just call it swapping. Like this is just another way to swap. I think I agree with them because it's just kind of we can explain and talk about how you don't have to connect your wallet to the site, but in general, when we promote the site and training on THORChain, I think we just call it swapping. You can use any wallet in the world, and then when you come to do it, you can either connect the wallet or not connect it, type thing. So I think we just are going to focus on selling that idea that you can use any wallet. No, and kind of avoid having to go into the no connection thing. Um, so but it's just fluid, right? As we do this and we play with it and see people's reactions and complaints and whatever, we iterate. So nothing you see or we do is fixed, you guys. Especially the way the site looks. Like there's still and what it can do. Like there's still a lot of things that need to be fixed, that need to be done, improved. And so we just been going with like done is better than perfect. Get something out there, get something live, get people playing with it, um, and then that just helps us uh, get it closer to perfect quicker. So you know, um, so I appreciate everyone's feedback, but just be patient, guys. It's still a work in progress. I don't expect the site to be like fully done until like January, February, like the swap interface. So, over the next, say, 2 months, we're going to have lots of improvements and whatnot. But now that DEX segregation is done, improvements should come much quicker. If there's a bug that's found, once we get through this backlog, any new bugs should be done within like 24 hours type thing. Um, so, so yeah, so appreciate everyone's patience with that. I appreciate everyone using it. I'm impressed with the volume we're getting. It's pretty good. And um, yeah, and some people have in Discord, somebody was questioning, asking what's going on. You can trade Solana and Zcash through Near on the front end, and like what the heck's going on? This isn't THORChain, and blah blah blah. There's method to the madness, guys. So we want everyone to come trade on our website and stay there and never leave, right? We want our site to be Hotel California, right? We want it to be a casino in Vegas, right? You're there and you're stuck there and you spend all your money there. So we don't want our users to have to go elsewhere to go trade whatever tokens they want. We want them to come to our site and it's done. It's a one-stop shop. They can trade everything they want there, and so they won't leave. And um, and then when those, so just to be clear, the front end doesn't charge any fees on trades going to THORChain. If the token doesn't trade there, then we look at Maya. No fees on Maya, and then if it's not there, then it'll go to DEX aggregation, like Near or 1inch or whatever. And so what this will do is we will see what our users are actually trading. What tokens they're buying and selling that aren't on THORChain, and then we can prioritize those to get those added to THORChain. And then we just do a switcheroo right on the back end. And once that new token is on THORChain, then we start putting all those trades to THORChain. and we cut out the other dexes. And slowly over time, the goal is just to have all tokens go to THORChain, right? THORChain supports them all, and all trades go to THORChain. But at least we're building that, relationship with the user and them getting used to using our interface, right? And it's kind of like what THORSwap has done. It started with THORChain, and then they added Maya and then Chainflip and Near, and now they're pushing all these trades away from THORChain. We're basically gonna do the inverse of that. Whatever trades we're sending elsewhere, we will eventually be pushing towards THORChain. And the users who are just used to using our site, they probably won't, in theory, won't really care. They just want the best experience, best price, whatever. And then with this DEX aggregator, we can now technically we can compete with SwapKit. We can go to wallets and we can say, hey, listen, integrate us and pay less, basically, right? SwapKit charges a fee on top of all of their trades, whether it goes to THORChain or Near, and or Maya or Chainflip, right? But we can go to the wallet, say, listen, if you don't want to pay SwapKit's fees, integrate our aggregator. You'll have all the same routes, but any trades going to THORChain and Maya, you don't pay, right? It's only trades going elsewhere you have to pay. And so it's a way for us to compete with SwapKit, try and get in there and get routes, trades prioritized to THORChain. Again, that if on the DEX aggregator on a wallet, if it's trades are going elsewhere, we still will charge a nominal fee, and that's how the devs got to get paid to support this aggregator, right? So so that's the method to the madness there. The goal here, the overarching goal is to funnel volume into THORChain, right? That's the method to the madness. So yeah, see the forest for the trees. Don't get, so when you see trades going elsewhere on the front end, just relax. It's okay, right? So yeah, so I hope over the course of next week, a lot of bugs should be fixed and gets much better. And then once you get backlogs of bugs are fixed, confirm they're done, then start adding more features. And I think the next feature that'll be added will be limit orders. To have like the interface for you to be able to enter limit orders. And then after that, it'll be the more common stuff you guys are looking for, like bonding your rune and LPing, all that kind of stuff, message deposit. All those things are coming. Transaction tracker. Juggernaut was asking on Thursday, saying, we need a pop up or something if the network is down, stuff, all those kind of things, those little things, they'll all come. We're just trying to get this was the heavy lift, getting the DEX aggregator done and out of the way, and getting the back end of the site done. So now new features and bug fixes should go through much quicker. So I'll stop there. See if you have any questions there, Patriot. Are we still waiting for Cal?
Yeah, I'm tagging him. And by the usually, guys, Cal's very punctual. I wonder if there's a little confusion on the time. I see some people in the audience like Winanda. I'm sorry if I said your name incorrectly. If you wouldn't mind just tagging him in your free time. So I think you do follow Leo and others. Things happen. There is a time zone difference, and we've had a few quirks with that. But actually, Kenton, I just want to comment on something you said. It's 100% makes sense. If you have a swapper who comes to our interface, the most important thing is that we fulfill their swap. It's like any other business. If you have a customer who comes in, they want a product, they want a service. If you don't offer that product or service, you immediately direct them to a business that does, because you are establishing that helpful, friendly repertoire. And it is the feeling that they get when they interact with you. Sorry, I don't have this, but you can go right here and you can get taken care of. It's like that. It's like one of the most basic customer service things. So yeah, we will support other protocols because we want people to use the interface. We want to have people think of the THORChain interface as a reliable place where they can get their needs met. And how their needs get met, that's, we try to do our best, but otherwise we will meet their need at the end of the day. So that's 100% correct. So I hope people understand. I think a lot of people do. A lot of people, they get confused, but once you break it down to them, they immediately change their mind. So It's just the correct way to go about it.
I think so, yeah. Um, so I have a question for you. What did you see my post about adding Monero to DEX aggregation? And we can do it, but it goes through a centralized exchange. And it's the same exchange that Cake Wallet and Edge Wallet use. And apparently they've never frozen a trade like Changely or Change Now. They just reject it or refund it. Um, so I'm wondering if we do include that exchange, and that way, we start, people that want to be able to buy, sell Monero or any other tokens for that matter on the exchange, but the the obvious one is Monero. Um, do you think it's okay to add that, to have that we route trades through an actual SEX?
Do they
Um,
require KYC? I don't know how it
no,
works. Oh,
no.
well, if there is no precedent of them so far freezing funds, I think it's okay, and it's a intermediary in the meantime type function to give people access to privacy. We'd like to have Monero natively, but if Edge Wallet's pretty reputable. I know Paul decently well, solid human being who shares our ethos to the max. If he is using that centralized exchange, I think that is a pretty good indication that they're at least so far halfway decent. I mean, I don't like that it's not. I don't like the fact that it is a centralized exchange, but I think we should offer people a pathway into Monero. Yeah, and if they do something nefarious, we sever the ties.
Yeah, I'm just because my concern is that they freeze a trade or something like that, and then the user is just like, screw through THORChain, you guys freezing my trades and blah blah blah, and it's just like, FUD we don't need. That's my main concern, is
Yeah.
that something like that happens. But um,
Can we just put
some.
in a disclaimer, like a qualifier, like on that specific pathway, a little thing says this is through a centralized provider. This is or something like that. Just kind of just give them a heads up. It
I,
that's out of our
I
hands a little bit.
I think we'll have to, definitely. Yeah. Cal made that point in Discord, and I've seen some other people kind of complain about some things. I think at first my thinking was just do the trade. You don't have to tell the user where it's going. Like, it's just adding more complexity. But I think maybe I was wrong there. Maybe we should start showing, where the trade is going, especially if it's going to a centralized exchange. We should make the user aware of that. Um, so yeah, and I think there's some confusion too, like with the DEX aggregation, like, well, how are you guys doing Sol? Solana doesn't support on THORChain yet, and how do you have it on the front end? So I think maybe we do have to make it clear that it's going through somewhere else.
Yeah,
Um,
because if we don't do that, then we're kind of outsourcing our reputation a little bit. If we don't put the facilitator of the swap, then then it is THORChain, failure or not,
mhm,
right? So I think
mhm.
that's probably wise. And then if it is native THORChain or Maya protocol, we don't say jack shit. Probably that's the way to go.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so this is part of the process, right? So yeah, well, I think we'll have to add something like that.
How long do you know
Y-
how long the time frame for that to be? Is this something real easy add or is it complex or?
Uh, Good question. I'm guessing it might take a week or two.
Ooh,
Um,
that's cool. I would use it. I'd give it a shot.
oh, Monero, you mean? Oh, adding
Yeah,
Monero as
that
an
that
exchange.
that
Oh,
that
sorry. So I messed up. I thought you meant starting to show the route where the trades are going. Um, the Well, adding the Monero exchange might actually probably might be a similar amount of time. Because I think it's just getting to the point where they should be able to add, a new DEX with relative ease. Um, that's what took so long, was getting like the foundation set, like everything built on the back end, so that things can just be added and changed, relatively easy. So yeah, we'll see. Um, I know because it's the Unstoppable devs that are building our front end for us, right? And they're using the aggregator in the Unstoppable wallet, and they are going to use this Let's exchange from Monero in Unstoppable Wallet. Like they're going to use it, with or without us, right? So for the THORChain front end, it's just going to be an on-off, right? It's not. So it's already, those Unstoppable devs are already doing it for themselves, right? So and I believe that's the next one they're prioritizing. So yeah, I would think it'd be done soon, TM.
Yeah, that would be huge because, and what would be interesting is to see is once we had the Monero swaps through that centralized provider, it is what it is, then we would advertise, hey, the THORChain, we support Monero swaps. We don't have to say that it's us. And then if we get decent swap volume on there, then that would be, like you say, a good key indicator that this should be a priority, right? I mean, because there is something to be gained, as you've said earlier in previous spaces, like information, like what does the market want? And so I think it would be worth it just alone to see what the volume is going to be. That'd be really cool. And then, I think one thing that's really cool with the marketing angle and the interface, Kenton, is that you're going to be providing extremely useful information to the developers to help them prioritize going forward. Because right now it's kind of like all theory crafting in our mind. But if you have, swaps and real yield and volume, that's just hardcore statistics.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
I'm wondering if Cal thinks it's an hour.
I bet you he does. Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
reached out to him on Telegram?
I've tried. Yeah,
Uh,
Telegram and I've DM'd the LeoDex and Cal
okay.
on X. So it is what it is. But
He could be
you got
working out or something.
yeah, oh definitely that guy. Yeah, he's probably getting all pumped up for the space that's already going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I'm just trying to think what we can talk about. Keep going until he gets here. Yeah, marketing is going a bit just, yeah, I feel like we've hit like a slow patch here, just trying to move things forward. Waiting to hear back from people, get things done. Um, but we want to start posting regularly on Reddit, getting the spaces uploaded on YouTube. Um, Sounds like we found somebody to do fix the SRT files for YouTube, so that when like the captions, so there's always those spelling mistakes, like when we talk about THORChain or Rune or any other kind of word or term that isn't normal, those always get spelled wrong. So we need someone to fix those spelling, and then it's tedious, but I think it's important because I believe my understanding is that stuff does contribute to LLM training for AI models. So, like after Google, YouTube is the largest search platform in the world. And so, if we have all the content more accurate on YouTube, hopefully that helps train the LLMs. And that's my big, like with us kind of organizing like all the communication and marketing and everything and getting everything like, yeah, organized and cleaned up, is that hopefully, or I expect that it'll train the LLMs better. And so, our best, um, we want people to be able to find us when they're looking, like, how do I swap, Bitcoin to Ethereum without using a centralized exchange? Like, THORChain needs to come up first, right? And in all those searches. And whereas, I've done some pretty basic searches where you think THORChain would show up, and we don't come up at all. Like Uniswap and PancakeSwap show up, and they're not even cross-chain. So, we gotta find a way to, train the AIs to understand what THORChain is and whatnot. So, um, so we think, or we believe, and this is the problem with AI, like we don't, it's those like ChatGPT and Claude and all that, they're kind of black boxes, right? We don't know exactly how they're training them. We can only infer. And a lot of people think that Reddit contributes to it a lot. That's why we want to get posting more on Reddit. And then even just having our own website, the thorchain.org, like that should be kind of the official source of info for THORChain. So, when so when LLM, when the AI is like looking up THORChain, it's going to go to THORChain.org. It's going to look up the site. That's one of the first things it looks for, right? And so we want all the content to live there. So like all the blog posts on Medium, we want to migrate them all into the blog on THORChain.org. And then going forward, any new blog posts go through on THORChain.org. Because I don't think Medium is ranking less and less for SEO and AI training because it's generally a paid platform, and so we want to own that content on our site and have one place for it. And part of that will be building an email list, getting like an email newsletter, so those posts will go to people's email. Email still, from what I read, is still the #1 form of social media, for connecting with an audience. So, we should add that to our repertoire. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I like the strategy. And one thing I'm most excited about is now that there is a marketing fund, or there is revenue going to the market fund, like this is the very start of the engine, right? Because what was the thing that people were using with Voltisig? Was it Cato or something? I can't remember the name, but that is so powerful. Things like that with just mind share and getting the name out there. It's all about awareness, because I think you said in the previous space, right? Like 98, 99% don't know about THORChain, don't know that they can do this. And so I think we're just gearing up really well. We're having a strong foundation to just really reach out and promote the website. I like having everything going to be centralized on THORChain.org. I mean, we're basically taking everything that we've always done and just cleaning it up. And, at first it's going to be like a shotgun blast where we try everything. We'll have the community mobilized, people already doing that, promoting the site. And we're going to figure out what works, right? We're going to figure out what generates the best return. We will optimize, we will streamline, and we'll really get going. I have a question for you, Kenton, from
Yeah.
DGen Ray. He wants to know, why are we using .org over .net? .org ranks lower than which ranks lower than .com? Yeah, that's the question.
Is that about .com or .net or all three?
I guess all
Okay,
three.
I'll answer them. So so in theory we should be using .com, right? That's the most recognizable. And but just the way things went, there was a .org that was like the first THORChain site, and that .org has the highest domain authority. So what that means is Google and the internet view .org as like a reputable site. So there's like 25,000 like natural backlinks, like backlinks that you can't pay for those. People are just naturally linking to your site and references to it. And so that tells Google that this is a real site, it's legitimate, it's like the alpha, right? And so the .com has existed for a while, and it's basically just a clone of the .org. And at one point they were different. I think that was when Mihail Brains was involved with THORChain. But at one point, the .com and .org were actually two different sites. But now they've merged. The layouts. The .com has turned into a clone of .org, and the .com domain authority is way lower, much lower than the .org. So we're just pointing everything. We want the .com to just point to the .org, and there's no point even the THORChain.net. I mean, that's like the what do you want to call it? Like a block explorer, like where all the stats are and everything. So we're sticking with THORChain.org because there's a really high domain authority, and then why that matters is because when we do SEO, our SEO should rank higher. Like, let's say we're optimizing a page for a certain phrase, like cross-chain swaps. And if we optimize a page for cross-chain swaps, and then somebody goes and search in Google, how do I do cross-chain swaps? Our page, our site will rank higher than somebody else who may have the exact same SEO setup. But if their domain authority is lower than our site, we will rank higher. We'll have a better chance of showing up first in the search results. So the domain authority is good. That's one good thing we have going for us, is that once we start doing SEO properly, which we haven't, nothing has been done for SEO for our website. Like it's just kind of random stuff. So once we start optimizing that, we should start seeing the THORChain.org page show up more in search results and give us more traffic, and in turn, hopefully give us more volume. So yeah, that's the reason for sticking with .org. It's another reason we've talked about, with rebranding. If you guys, people want to, get a new name and everything, well, that would mean a new website, a new domain, and we'd have to start from a 0 domain authority and build it up, right? So it's not as simple as just, hey, let's just change the name and everything will be better. Like, we'd be wiping the site clean on a lot of things, and that's why I still think there's a lot of value in the THORChain brand, and what we can do with it, and having this really strong domain authority is one of those small things. So that's why we're sticking with the .org.
I had an idea yesterday. I don't know if this, I mean, yeah, okay. So those big swaps that happened yesterday and days prior through Ledger, right? They paid the 1.4% and the swap kit, right? Awesome big swaps. We love it. We get good, revenue for them. And, we want those people to use the THORChain interface, right? We want them because they can save money. I mean, I'm pretty sure if they knew they could save $30,000, they would be head over heels to do that. How do you think about us? Because their address is public. We don't know who they are, but we know what happened. Why don't we just send them a transaction of whatever, $5-10 and say, hey, thanks for using THORChain, but just so you know, if you use the interface, you would have saved X amount of money, or you can do this instead. And we actually reach out directly to the whales, and instead of just hoping they see if I put on X, hey, hoping they see it by some miracle, because we have no idea who they are. We don't know anything about them. Maybe they don't even speak the same language. But maybe, what do you think about directly reaching out to these people and saying, hey, try the THORChain interface. You would have saved X amount. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. That might start, there's already enough, the front end's getting a little bit pissy about us creating our own front end, and stealing volume from them and users and whatnot. And I don't know that we should do that. I mean, I think if somebody's a THORChain fan and they know about THORChain and want to use THORChain and they're our audience, I think that's okay. Taking them from the other interfaces and they want to use our platform. But let's say that Ledger guy, he's that whale you brought up. Maybe he's a Ledger guy. He likes Ledger, and maybe he's tried the different exchanges on Ledger, and THORChain's been one of them. And maybe he likes using Ledger because he can do clear signing, right? If he has to go connect his, he can do the trade within Ledger Live, right? And not have to do blind signing when you connect Ledger to a third-party website. So maybe he likes that, wants to do that. And I don't know if we really want to be outright going after the other interface users like that, because that's not the goal of our interface. Isn't to vampire other interfaces users. The goal is to serve our own audience and build our audience further, and let Ledger build their audience and get them going, and Trustwall can build their audience and get them going. Yeah, I feel like that might, I don't know, I think that just might be pushing it a bit too far.
Yeah, I understand. It's reasonable.
Yeah. But I can add to that what you're thinking. There's a platform called Addressable, and which is done some sleuthing to kind of connect Ethereum addresses to Twitter profiles. And so you can go look up, who are these whales on these addresses and who, they're most likely Twitter profiles, and you can promote to them directly and say, hey, listen, if you're doing trades like this, whatever, come on our platform. And you should have a bit of an idea that, what Addressable is selling is you can have some confidence that this wallet is connected to this social media profile. So you can market directly to whales that way. So that's something we want to try and look into. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if because honestly, guys, my mind is so wrapped up into like THORChain and the surrounding ecosystem. I don't know a lot outside of the world. Like I see Gima in the audience, Jima, excuse me, and he knows a lot because he's always integrators. But I wonder if it would make sense if there were swaps, big swaps happening outside entirely of our ecosystem, outside of swap kits, purview, everything. Maybe we could help target them, especially if they're going through
Oh yeah.
centralized GLs. That might be the way to do it instead of,
Well,
I don't want to siphon the, as you said, be a vampire. That's a good point.
that's exactly it. Like I think when people get wrapped up about near and or anyone else, or volume going elsewhere or whatever, like just add up all of like our volume, Maya's volume, Chainflow's volume, and Near's volume.
Yeah.
Add it all together, and it's a fraction of a percent compared to centralized exchanges. Like you guys, we got to stop. Like it's like dogs fighting over crumbs underneath the kitchen table. Like our goal isn't to get the crumb from another, off the floor. Our goal should be getting a seat at the table and eating a full meal. That's the volume we want, right? The centralized exchange volume. And so this is kind of what I talked about on Thursday, where really we should be celebrating near. And if this is getting more people to notice and understand that they can trade uh all the major L1s outside of a centralized exchange in self-custody, like this is our problem. This is our hurdle, is that nobody knows they can do that. And if Near is helping get that message out there, then great, right? And some people will look into Near and play with it and be like, I don't, this doesn't really do it for me. But what's THORChain? Oh, I like that, right? So I think the idea that we have to have a monopoly and we have to be the only one, I think is a bit naive, right? There's always going to be more competition on top of Near, right? I saw somebody else is working on something similar. Like there's going to, give it 5 years, there'll probably be 10 more competitors out there, right? So the best we can do is just try to stay ahead of the competition and just keep being better and improving and whatnot. But in theory, if there's more competition, it means the market's getting bigger, right? And so just like centralized exchanges, there's dozens of centralized exchanges, right? There'll be dozens of cross-chain swap platforms one day, right? And as long as we're in the top 5, I think we're going to do just fine. Obviously, we want to be the biggest. I'm not saying we shouldn't or we can't, but it's not the end of the world if we're only second, right? Like we're going to do okay. What we need is to get the the trillions of volume on centralized exchanges onto dexes, right? And we're well, maybe not trillion, it's billions, right? Definitely billions, and we're only at millions on THORChain and Near. So we have a long way to go to get more volume.
Wonder if we have someone on Rune Bond. His name's Adam, and I don't know if you guys have seen the videos we've made for Rune Bond. I'm obvious. I often narrate them, but those seem to do really well, right? And I'm wondering, it's like, how do you capture the volume of centralized exchanges? That's the key question. And I think maybe just keep it super simple, right? Just make videos and juxtapose the differences. You do it right from your wallet right there. And so I'm thinking maybe, when the THORChain main interface gets more solid, we get the bugs ironed out, we get the UI that's going to be established, right? That we're not going to, because we don't want to make a video and then have the UI change and people will be confused when expecting one thing, getting something else, right? That might be a really good method. Super simple, obviously, and just make videos and just tell people. Because I think what we're failing is we're too much in our bubble, and we got to get out of our bubble and reach those people and let them know it's just a new world compared to what has only existed before. If I think we do that, I think we, yeah, it's like you said, we got to get that volume. We got to get the volume on chain, off centralized exchanges.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree about videos. Like you can tell people to your blue in the face, but you guys just show them, right? And we just show people how to do it, and they're like, oh wow, that was actually pretty easy. Like it's not hard. And so I totally agree. And you're also right. Like we can't do videos now because that front end is going to keep changing, right? And look different, and the flow might change again, right? Based on people's feedback, and if we're finding problems that we got to fix and change something. So as I keep saying, like the swap interface won't really be ready to truly be promoted and sold until probably like February. Um, because we got to keep adding and fixing things, and the same with the we want to overhaul the look of the homepage and the swap page to make it like the swap page. I think will be generally the layout will be generally the same, but like the fonts and the colors, to make it all match with the homepage, right? So it looks like they belong together, right? Um, so that's why we don't want to like do videos or spend a lot on pay per click ads or anything until that's done. So we're trying to build everything up towards that. Um, and then once it's done, then yeah, videos galore. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take it a step further. Like, so on the site, what we're going to do is eventually there's going to be like thousands of pages on the .org website, and we'll have a page for like swapping Bitcoin to Ethereum, Bitcoin to Dogecoin, swap Dogecoin to Ethereum, swap Dogecoin to Bitcoin Cash, how to swap Bitcoin Cash to Litecoin. So you're going to have, for every pair, we're going to have a page, and um, and the idea is that if anybody ever looks, how to swap Litecoin to Bitcoin Cash will come up, right? And and so the idea is to have like all the iterations, all the possible combinations will be on uh on the website. I'm not saying you're going to see 1,000 links, right? But it'll be there, live, and then we can have like how to swap Bitcoin with this wallet, how to swap Bitcoin with that wallet, and we can have a for each wallet we can have a page, and then it kind of explains how to do it. So the idea is that each one of these pages optimized for SEO. So if anybody's ever looking for that specific term, it'll come up, right? And these are just kind of like cookie cutter things. You just once we create the page and the layout and everything, all we have to do is just go change the wallet or the tokens, right? And you can just be kind of bang these out and just keep adding them. So it doesn't necessarily mean like any one of these individual pages is going to make us a fortune, but the idea is in aggregate, they should help attract traffic. And where I was going with this is you could also do videos like that. You can have video on YouTube. How do I swap Bitcoin on this wallet? And you can show it, create a video of it, and have that. Now that'd be a bit more work, right? It's not as cookie cutter as creating all the different web pages, but that's something that could be done. And just have it on YouTube, how to swap with all these different pairs, all these different wallets, and it's all these YouTube videos of THORChain, right? How to do it. And so if anyone's ever searching on YouTube, they can find it. And the AI models, if they're searching YouTube, they'll find it. So yeah, I totally agree with you about video. And same with like TikTok and Instagram. Start posting stuff there. Um, I get it, guys. I know Twitter is the main platform for crypto, but like Cardano and XRP, like there's like as crypto goes mainstream, it's going to go over all the main social media channels too, right? So, we can, doesn't mean we have to spend a lot of money or time on TikTok and Instagram, but we can just start posting, right? Whatever we're posting on YouTube, we can post on TikTok, right? So it doesn't cost much more time to do it. We just need people organized to do it. So, yeah, so we're doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question from Gma, and you can come up, Gma, if you want. It's no big deal. And Cal's not here yet, and then I don't want to consume the space. But when Cal gets here, we can transition. But his question is, what was? Sorry, 1 second. Okay, what's the whole idea of the API then? Going after new integrators, taking swap kits integrators. I don't understand. What is Kenton saying now that the opposite? What Kenton is saying now is the opposite of the API idea. Oh, there you go, a little spicy there.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure I
Maybe
understand
ask
you.
her if he comes up, ask the question more
Yeah,
clear.
maybe you
Is he
can.
maybe saying like having our own API? I'm assuming that's what if I'm understanding his question right, because before I said when you asked about Ledger to go to
Right.
that
Yeah.
person and say, hey, come trade on the THORChain interface, save money, and then we want to have our own AP, our own aggregator API that we can offer Ledger to send trades to THORChain. So, well, if Ledger integrates our DEX aggregator, they still collect the Ledger fee, right? Whatever commission they're charging, but they would save on the swap kit fee. So, that's what Jim is probably asking about. Is like, yeah, we want to make THORChain cheap and easy to use. So we want to give wallets the ability to use THORChain for free. And right now, SwapKit charges a fee for that, right? So, this is no different than the wallet, say THORSwap, trying, sending their users to the cheapest route. We want to give the wallets the cheapest aggregator they can use, right? To try and get volume for us. So I think that's more above board with Ledger, instead of like trying to say go after the users and get the Ledger users to come trade on the swap on our interface. We can go to Ledger and say, hey, use our integrator and move routes to THORChain for free, and save that fee that you would be paying SwapKit or anybody else. That's the idea. I don't, Gma, if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, THORChain has to make money at the end of the day, right? And for me, it's hard with an investment. Everyone, when they make an investment, they want to make a lot of money. They want to do well, right? This is just me. I don't want to make myself sound like some paragon of virtue or something, but for me, the risk and the existence of THORChain, what we're building, is quite existential, and gives me I lose sleep sometimes thinking about it, just how important this is. And so we really have to maximize the inflows to THORChain to make it as powerful as we can. And right, it's just markets capitalism. It's just competition at the end of the day. But it's very important that we do that. And THORChain has to be healthy. And one thing I really want to happen on THORChain is we have to increase the decentralized nature of THORChain. And the way you do that, you need more yield so we can get more node operators. Straight up, right? Right now, if we one thing I'd love to do, I wish we could just go to 200 nodes just somehow, if I waved a magic wand, but that would be unattractive right now because the yield to all the nodes would be very diluted, right? And so, yeah, I mean, we have to make more money, simple as, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. THORChain, and plus, I mean, the head start is so huge as it is, and everyone's going to come out with their own aggregator. And again, to your point, Kenton, the market is still so huge. The uncaptured flows are astonishing still on centralized exchanges. So this, there's so much room to grow. You know what I mean? It's insane. So yeah.
But I don't think decentralization, I don't think is our problem. Like it doesn't.
No, it's not. But that's me thinking ahead. I want it to be more decentralized now. I think we're okay right now, but when I just model it in my mind, that's the conclusion. I want to be more, but we're fine right now, as you say.
I want more volume.
Yes,
So
that first,
right,
one
like
hundred
this,
percent.
that's it's an unfortunate thing. At the end of the day, I think a lot of users just don't care about decentralization. They just want fast, easy, convenient, cheap, right? Which is fair, right? We all want those things, right? And I think it's the real diehards, the real purists who are like, well, I only, they want to pay a premium for decentralization, which is cool. But I think unfortunately, for all that big meal I was talking about on the kitchen table, those billions of dollars of volume on centralized exchanges, the people just want fast, easy, and cheap, right? And so um, if they're so concerned about decentralization, they wouldn't be on those sexes in the first place, right? They'd be off. So so I think, yeah, we gotta just get our quotes better, cheaper, faster, all that good stuff. And then as we get volume and get usage, like you said, the yield will go up, and then the decentralization will come, right? We'll get the yield to go up, we'll get more nodes. But for now, I think we need volume, right? We need to get that flow.
100% more volume too, larger marketing budget, nice engine, right?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
good feedback loop. That's what we got
yeah,
to do. And you have some money to play with, and maybe, you get some people making video content, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you're in charge of all that, but there's that to me gets me the most excited. I mean, we really got the incentives aligned now.
yeah.
So yeah,
And
ship it, baby.
yeah, just thinking too, going back to the like wallets and the DEX aggregators and all that kind of stuff, like the distribution. This is why a few months ago I started pushing so hard for THORChain front end. Is I just saw it all kind of how it all was gonna happen over time. Is that like the wallets like Ledger and Trust Wallet, they're just gonna grind everybody down on fees. And especially on Trust Wallet, where you can't choose where the trade is going. Like Trust Wallet chooses for the user what exchange they're going to send the trade through. All that does is commoditize the liquidity. And what I mean by that is a commodity, whether it's gold or oil or lead or it's, I guess oil does have technically the different varieties, but generally speaking, commodity is the same. Whether you're buying and selling it in the U.S., in Canada, in Europe, in Africa, in South America, wherever, right? It's the same. It's the same thing. People just want to get that commodity. They want to buy it at the cheapest price possible, and you know, this is why, like, you hear about, like, with oil, for example, like, and this happens in Canada, like some of the regulations around an oil are so ridiculous that Canada ends up importing oil from the Middle East and South America. And it's like, why aren't we using our own oil? And it's because the regulations make it so onerous and expensive. It's actually cheaper to get oil from Venezuela, right? So at the end of the day, the refinery is just looking for the cheapest oil, like for the input. And that's what Trust Wallet is doing. They're just looking for the cheapest input to 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 facilitate a trade. And so it commoditizes the exchanges, commoditizes the liquidity, and just basically whoever is the cheapest is going to get in there. And this is what's going on with, apparently, with Near, how they're getting a lot of flows is they're getting in there cheaper because they're subsidizing it, and so they're getting all the flow. And um, and if there's another competitor come out, they're going to do the same thing. If there's 10 more, everyone's going to be competing to be the cheapest, to get their commodity bought by the refiner, by Trust Wallet. So what I see going forward is it's just a race to the bottom on fees. No one's going to make any money. And that's why, like in commodities, in mining, oil and gas and mining, like, it's a tough business. It's really hard to make money because it's just so competitive. Because you have no control over the price of your product. You're a price taker, not a price setter. And really good businesses are price setters. So like Coca-Cola, they're a price setter. And I mean, it's just sugar and water. That's a commodity, right? But they're this global brand that still makes a fortune after 100 years. It's because it's a brand, right? That's what they have as a brand. It's not sugar and water. It's a brand that they sell to people. You could probably have some competitor come and create, sugar and water for 10 cents a can. But Coke sells it for a dollar or two. People are buying the brand. And so if THORChain is just invisible behind the scenes, no one knows about it, there is no brand. It has no value. We're just a commodity. We're just sugar and water. So with THORChain having its own front end, we now start becoming a brand, and we can sell our brand, we can promote our brand and grow our brand and get people to use us directly. And that brand is what has value. So I'm not saying we have, get a price gouge people, but we also don't have to be on a race to the bottom on our fees. So, we can charge a good modest fee and still, be competitive, but at least we're not being ground down to zero or being forced to subsidize our trades. And what this will do is that gives us more control of our destiny, so that um, we're not as reliant on the third party wallets. We have our own brand, our own front end that's making us money. And so who knows? See how it goes. I mean, I'm not saying we should not stop getting integrated in wallets. Absolutely not. We should definitely keep going. And if THORChain keeps improving, keeps doing better, we can still get volume there. But I think it's like good call option. It's good optionality. Um, um, we can't, at the end of the day, we can't control whether that wallet will give us volume. We can't control their users, whether they're going to use us or not. But so we have to focus on what we can control. That is our brand and our audience, our user base. And so we got to, build our brand. And which I still think THORChain, despite all the crap that's gone on this year, I actually do think it's still has value. I think because we're in a bear market, it's like it's not obvious. It's like everything's negative, but I'll be proven right or wrong in the bull when things turn around. And if we don't turn around, then fine, I'm wrong. The brand is tarnished, is bad. But if THORChain really does turn around and start getting momentum again, then the brand is still there, still has value. Um, but yeah, we won't be as reliant, say, on the wallets. And but again, it doesn't mean we can't stop. We should still keep improving, so trying to keep getting better quotes, better price. We still want to try and get that volume for sure, right? But this just gives us another avenue, another way to like grow our brand and monetize it and get users. And then if that gets big enough and we get a lot of volume on our front end and we get more sticky users, that gives us the ability to, if we want to have the trades cheaper in the other wallets, we can stomach it because we're less reliant on that income, because we can survive off the income from our own front end. So maybe one day we're doing well enough on our front end, and then we're like, you know what, let's really drive out our competition and make trades. Maybe we start subsidizing our trades on the wallets because we can actually afford it from the money we make in the front end, right? See where I'm going? So um, so basically, I don't know, I think I'm kind of rambling, just trying to fill time, but kind
No,
of
you're
what I'm
fine,
trying
man.
to say is that like yeah, I think big picture on the wallets is just going to be a race to the bottom on fees for everyone. So, we need our own front end to kind of keep us going, keep us afloat, where it's not a race to the bottom. And who knows? Maybe I don't know how it'll shake out. Maybe our front end does become big and huge, and we don't even need the wallets at all. I don't know. I like to think that both will be good, both will succeed together, and um, finding the other wallets, we may not have all of the volume, but doesn't matter as long as we're getting some, getting a good chunk. Something is better than nothing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that was all well said. And before I add to it, though, we are at the top of the hour, so I just want to call out to the audience here. If Cal doesn't show up in the next 5 minutes, then I'm gonna start to get a little nervous because I just want to shout out Cal a little bit here. I have done numerous talks with Cal. I've scheduled things, and one thing that dude always is extremely punctual. Okay, always on top of things. He's never been late, right? And if he says he's going to do something, he does it. I've been checking my messages. None of them have been seen. So maybe if he doesn't show up in the next 5-10 minutes, I don't know if there's someone in the audience who, like maybe Oleg or Jima or someone, I don't know if you work with him in the background, but if you've got a special way to communicate with him, because I don't have his phone number or nothing, if just someone make sure he's okay. I don't want to like be a bummer or anything or spread fear, but that would be unusual, very atypical for his personality. So yeah. So I
I'm
hope
pretty
he
sure
really shows up here any second.
I'm pretty sure yesterday he replied to
Yes.
the
No, he was
post
going to
saying he's
come
looking forward to it
100%.
and he's coming.
100%. That's what gets me
Um,
a little nervous. And I think we addressed the time difference issue. That's what makes me weirded out right now. I don't, it should have displayed the correct time for him. I don't think that's an issue anymore. So, so yeah, I don't know. I hope he's
maybe he's got a
okay.
hot date, and he's like, you know what,
I hope.
guys, I gotta,
And I will forgive him
you'll
if he
forgive
does.
me if I stay with this girl. Um,
Yeah,
so
he's at the gym right now, just getting it on. I'm okay with that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'll accept that.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but yeah, LeoDex is a great interface, a great friend, and shout out to LeoDex. I guess we got to talk about him a little bit, Kenton. They were the best interface in my opinion when it came to the THORFi stuff. Obviously that wasn't a good look for THORChain, but I was very appreciative that LeoDex and ThorSwap and others had good ones too. But I really loved LeoDex for having a really workable interface that allowed me to point people so they can claim their TCY. That was golden in those days because people, were really frustrated, understandably so. And LeoDex really just shined up there. And they also offered the free THORChain interface, which was a very nice gesture as well. So
yeah,
really appreciate LeoDex 100%.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and absolutely. Yeah, this was like it's tough because we lock that because we have overlap, right, between our interface and the partner interfaces, right? And it's like, trying to respect each other.
Right.
And so like it is, there's kudos to them for making that THORChain feeless front end. And yeah, it was really good on them. But it was, yeah, again, it's like for me, it's not our front end is about serving our audience, right? And like LeoDex's front end serve their audience, right? Like the value add of having all these front ends integrate THORChain isn't to serve the same audience, right? It's to tap into new audiences. And right, we only need one front end from one audience. We don't need 10 front ends for the same audience. So I don't like it's not yeah, this isn't to take away. We're not doing this trying to take away from LeoDex. Hopefully LeoDex adding THORChain helps them support their audience and go get new members to their audience and grow their
100%.
audience. Yeah. Um,
Well, they
so
have a
yeah.
lot of things too. I'm going to do my best to talk about LeoDex. They're working on a point of sale device like Mocha.
Hmm.
And they've got a lot of things they're baking, right? Very cool. They're a very good team. He's got a very talented group of software engineers for sure. Um, and just solid when it comes to shipping. I mean, they're on it, man. They also had were they the first? Yeah, they're the first UI. Of course, that's what the title says. Implement memoless swaps. So gosh dang it, man. I really want him to show up. I'm just looking at the audience right now. My eyes are just wanting to see a Cal or a LeoDex just pop in right now.
Well, give
So
us
they can
more
talk.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought of something too. Like people, a lot of people asked, when LeoDex made their THORChain feeless front end, all trades going to THORChain, no fees. Why don't we just use that? Why go through the headache of building our own front end? And it's the brand. We want, like, when we sell THORChain, talk about THORChain, we tell people to use THORChain. We want to send them to our website. use, go to THORChain.org, swap on THORChain through us, not a third party, right? And like I already have people complain about, our swap site's got the horizontal systems email to report bugs to, and like, whose email address is this, right? They want a THORChain.org email, and right, people want to see the same brand, right, the same name, and so we don't want to be sending people to a third party site, right? And you mentioned this too, Patriot, is like, if we're going to do that, then whose site do we choose? Which third party, right? You mentioned one. Okay, we're talking about LeoDex right now. What about THORSwap? What about THORWall? What about us, right? And it's like, you can't. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, type thing. So that's why having our own, THORChain front end, we can send our users there, our people there, our audience there. Then there's no confusion. The other front ends can. There's no like favorites or whatever. It's and we're just keeping it separate, right? So yeah, so that's why we didn't use the LeoDex front end, and we stayed with the THORChain one.
But here's the thing: is that was such a good move on his part, because I was sending everyone to that before we had our own interface. I was sending everyone to the free interface. I mean, they're not making any money on it, so it's like, as an educator for THORChain, it's no conflict of interest. Just hey, go use it, and they get that Leo brand, and then those people click around and they check things out. Maybe they buy the Leo token. So it just shows you, like, he's got a good business sense. He's a good person like that. Because he's interested in building the brand, and sometimes you have to, it's promotions, basic promotional stuff. You're not necessarily taking a loss. I mean, I guess there's operational costs for the website, but it's a great way to promote the mind share, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a very good choice by him. Very good choice.
And he's got good devs, because they get stuff done pretty quick. And
oh my gosh,
yeah, and they actually built their own Dex aggregator too, like for LeoDex. Like, I'm pretty sure they're not using.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure they're not using a SwapKit. I think they built their own. And I told them, I asked them that too. I'm like, well, dude, why don't you try and sell it? Like, go out there and get it into other wallets and whatnot. And I think he's just I think busy or not. So it's actually one of the questions I want to ask him, to see if he's maybe thought about doing that or something. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like I've talked to other front ends that use SwapKit, and they're like, they want to eventually like build their own. They basically just cut out the fees that they pay SwapKit, right? So like the LeoDex devs did it in a few months, the Unstoppable devs did it in a few months. So like for devs that know what they're doing, they can do it in a few months. They can build it out. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the front ends, the wallets, are just like, at some point, are like, just bring it in house. Maybe they don't even go to maybe Dex aggregators like SwapKit and what we have, what LeoDex has. Maybe those aren't being sold to wallets anymore, and the wallets just start building their own Dex aggregator in house, and they have full control over it. Who knows? Maybe that's the way it goes. And then it's really hard for us to. And it could be really hard for us to get into these wallets, because we're that much further removed in the relationship from the wallet, and it really is commoditizing the liquidity.
right.
So now that I say that out loud, it's more reason for us to have our own front end to develop our brand.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think, Chad said this years ago, where every DEX will be every other DEX, right? Everyone's connected. It's, as you say, it's the commoditization of liquidity and assets enabled to swap. And right, it's which is great. I mean, everything is becoming more convenient, more accessible, and that naturally draws people away from the centralized hegemony, right? And especially Ruggiero, super excited about Ruggiero and offering the primitives, because I think that's what it is too, is people can do things on centralized exchanges. And maybe you can do those other things, but it's just not quite baked out yet, or it's new, or they're nervous, because people, they pay a premium to feel safe. I know I do, right? I would be willing to pay a premium to not feel like I'm risky. Like when it either comes to things I use online or investing, that's my mentality. And I think many people are like that as well.
Yeah. The other thing is, I keep forgetting about this. So like I mentioned Trust Wallet, you can't, they decide for you where the trade is going to go. I believe they're the exception, not the norm. I think most interfaces like Ledger, THORSwap, you can choose where to send the trade.
Yeah.
So maybe that becomes the norm, where even though there might be a dozen exchanges offered by this wallet, you still have to go and choose which one. And so it's more reason for THORChain to develop its own brand, get the word out there, get people familiar with it, comfortable with it, so that when they open Ledger, open THORSwap, and like, oh, I know THORChain, I like that, I'm going to use that, right? So even though it may not be at the top of the list, but it's on the list, and they're like, just like a beer, when you go to the bar and you got your list of keg taps, right? You go for the beer you recognize, right? If there's a lot of beers on tap you're not familiar with, chances are you're just going to default to the one you are familiar with. And so more reason for THORChain to develop its brand and get it out there. Because I think the idea of THORChain being invisible in the background is not happening. If you look in practice, in reality, the way things are shaking out, THORChain is not invisible. It is visible, and people have to still choose it. So more reason for us to develop our brand.
100%. Yeah. And when you know the trail, it's like when you're, especially when it comes to the mass migration of my own country, people going west, there was these well-established trails, and right, people prefer, even if if there's an idea that might be a shortcut. There's I think it's the Dom. It's the Dom. I can't remember, but there was one where they went off trail, and winter struck. They were stranded in the forest. The next thing you know, they were drawing straws to eat each other to stay alive. Right. So yeah, I think there's a lot of risk in crypto. People want the safe option, and that's why I'm so excited to see the interface itself become more mature. And it's going to grow in use case, right? If anybody, guys, if you ask anyone, we can maybe, I don't know what's going on with Cal. I am nervous, but if anyone has any questions, please ask them in the Telegram on THORChain. Or you can come up and request to speak. This is an open forum, of course. We will, we're here to just talk with the community always. That's always our number one priority. But yeah, little unusual situation here. I hope he's okay. So
yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine. Maybe his car accident or something. The computer broke or something. Lost his phone. I don't know.
Powers. Something. I don't know. Well, usually you can do it on your cell phone. I don't know. It's just yeah.
Well, dude, if there's no questions, nobody wants to come up, maybe we should just wrap it up. People always asking for shorter spaces. Cal isn't coming. There's no reason to stretch this out any further.
I'm wondering if we should give him 15 more minutes or if we should call it now. I don't know. I hate it. I hate it, man. But yeah, I know. I feel you, brother.
I think we should call it.
But I think his reputation from my previous, we can do this again, right? Maybe something crazy happened. No big deal. Things like this happen. He's attended many spaces before. We can definitely just move him next time, and we'll get a proper space with him. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure there's an explanation. We'll just we'll put him. I think next week we've got Voltisig, right? Next Saturday. And then the following Saturday is Thor Wallet. I talked to Crypto
there. Hey, I see him. Oh my gosh. There he is. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kent.
That's okay.
I was so excited. Let's get him up here. What's going on, man? Cal, are you there? I just approved.
Hey guys, how are you? Sorry, I had the wrong time for this space. I don't know why.
Oh, okay, dude. Hey, it's okay.
That's my bad.
I'm just glad you're all right. That's all I care about, dude. So
no, that's totally my fault. I was just on another call, and then I started seeing all these Discord calls, like everybody's waiting for your spaces, and I was like, Spaces aren't for another 45 minutes. Totally my bad.
Okay,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
Well, no worries. Was the time on X different, or did you? If you just made a mistake, it's okay. Shit happens.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't really know if. Sorry, I don't know if my audio cut out. I never got a notification that the space even started.
Okay.
Which usually
Okay. Well, hey, no worries. No worries, man. We're just gonna move on. No big deal. I've got some time today. Kenton, if you need to leave, or I don't want to say you have to or nothing, but feel free, of course. I can stay, Cal, but we've been talking for an hour and 50 minutes. We've chatted about all kinds of stuff. So we've done a little talking about LeoDex. Kenton, did you want to ask him the question you wanted to ask by chance?
Oh yeah, well let's save it for later. Why don't we let's just kind of start from the beginning. Cal, why don't you introduce yourself, kind of your journey in crypto and LeoDex. How did you? I know there's some you've been involved in crypto before LeoDex. That whole everything that brought you up to starting LeoDex. Why don't you go over that for us?
Yeah, and sorry about the change up again. I feel really bad about that.
Oh, you're good.
With LeoDex, so Leo, I've been building for, what has it been? I think going on almost 7 years now. In 2026. So I got into the crypto space a very long time ago with Bitcoin mining. So I got my first ASIC, a long time ago now, which makes me feel ancient. So I got in with Bitcoin mining, and then I got in with Ethereum mining. And then when Ethereum, there was like the whole tokenization explosion, I started getting really interested in what it would look like to have, a token for a community and an ecosystem. And then I found this blockchain called Steam. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but a long time ago, there was this blockchain called Steam, and basically, you could blog on it and you could earn crypto. So I found that, and I was already, blogging on the internet about crypto. I was just like writing articles, about how to mine crypto and, just about wallets and things like that. And then, so I kind of had this natural progression from, blogging just in general and then mining crypto to then blogging about mining crypto. And then Steam eventually evolved into something called Hive, which I then built. Actually on Steam, I had built a blogging platform called Inleo. And then, Hive came out, and then we had the blogging platform migrate to the new blockchain, and that still exists today. So that's how Leo started, and the roots are in, basically this like financial blogging ecosystem that then turned into actually, basically a clone of X, but on the blockchain. And then from there, we were kind of experimenting with a lot of different things when it came to dexes, and it was really my kind of passion on the side was always like Ethereum and EVM and tokens and Solidity. So over all that time, I kind of like experimented with things on the side, and then eventually we got to LeoDex, and we actually built LeoDex for Maya Protocol to start. And I was someone from my team was pretty close to the Maya guys, also from Mexico. So he was kind of like personally close to the Maya guys and was like, hey, we should build a Dex UI that supports Maya Protocol. So then we started working on that, and then kind of had this natural progression, and we added THORChain support, and then it kind of led us to where we are today, where LeoDex has a ton of features, and it's kind of become like the flagship app, even above and beyond the social media that we do.
Nice. That's great, man. So what do you like? What's your vision for LeoDex? Like, where do you want to take it next? Like, what's your big grand plan for it?
Yeah, I have so many plans. I'm like known in my community for having like endless lists of things that I want to achieve. So with LeoDex, right now it's a web app only, and we've been working on a mobile app. So we've got the mobile app, under development, should be live soonish. And then we've also got something called, I guess tentatively called LeoKit, which is basically like SwapKit. But I had a different idea when it comes to that, and I mean, we're welcome to dive deeper into that if you'd like. But I essentially I want to do something that's like SwapKit, but essentially a little bit different, like easier for the average person to integrate in the sense where I think that you could integrate cross-chain swaps with something as simple as like an API call, and that doesn't really exist today. Especially for THORChain, you have to kind of jump through hoops if you want to be a UI that supports THORChain and do it without bugs and whatnot. It's definitely a learning curve, and it requires a dev. So I would say like the vision I have for that is what we've done is basically take the back end of LeoDex and wrap it into an API builder, and then you can basically like build your own API. And even a non-dev would be able to integrate, something like THORChain, for example, and support swaps. And that's kind of my vision for that. But that's where LeoDex is headed, in my opinion. It's the web app is like a showcase of what we're capable of in terms of swap routes and whatnot. And then you've got LeoKit, which will be the build your own API, and anyone that wants to integrate something like THORChain could just literally like click two buttons and have an API that just does it. And that's my vision for that.
Nice. You kind of answered my question that I wanted to ask you, brought it up earlier, because I mentioned how you guys built your own in-house DEX aggregator. And when you and I first met, started chatting, I asked you, why don't you try selling it? Why don't you try getting it out there? And you're like, yeah, I just maybe haven't really got around to it. But it sounds like over the last few months that's now would you say that's like your primary focus, to try and like that's what you're working most on right now, is to get that going?
Yeah, I would say that LeoKit is definitely the primary focus. So we spent a lot of time on perps for Ruggira. So we added perps, and then we did the memoless swaps, and then we're also looking at limit swaps. But outside of those things, and then just like general maintenance and bug fixes, LeoKit is definitely the number one priority right now. And yeah, I think you were right. And I remember we chatted and talked about all that stuff. And I was kind of thinking at the time, I was like, this just sounds like it sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like a lot of nuance to deal with. And I just didn't want to have to deal with honestly, like, it's tough. Like, and there's a lot of credit that is owed to, people like SwapKit, who, the amount of time that goes into managing those relationships and like, supporting all these different features, and then really like ongoing maintenance is like an incredible workload. So the reason why I didn't want to, walk down that path is I didn't want to distract my team from, just generally building LeoDex and like our mobile app and everything, related to it. And then obviously we've got the social media app, and all the work that goes on behind the scenes there. We also have an AI model that we just released last week. So we have our own LLM. So there's just a lot going on, and I didn't want to be like, all right, now we have to build this kit where we're going to have to like take, B2B requests and be ready to support that. But I think we've landed on something where it's, and like I said, it's like a build your own API. And it's going to be just like, here's, the ability to like switch on and switch off different parameters, and, people will be able to just kind of take it and run with it. And my goal with that is like, there's just people out there that are looking for, a solution, and whether they're trying to sell it to businesses or, be the business that's using it. If we can build something that's just like, hey, take this and you can literally do whatever you want with it. That's really what I'd like to do with it. And I think it would be a way to kind of have the best of both worlds, where we're able to put that out, but then we don't have to do like this crazy, B2B work, in terms of like ongoing, like people asking for certain things and customized solutions. It would be whatever the integrator wants to achieve, they'll be able to just achieve it with like, some raw APIs.
But you guys would still have to support the DEX integration on your end that's feeding into the API. So no, that's all that work still exists for you to support the API, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And what and what the vision is for that is we're already doing all that work on LeoDex. So we're basically just taking the, all the work we're already doing in terms of aggregation, in terms of, pulling quotes and serving quotes to users. We're basically just taking all that work and literally just wrapping it into these APIs. So then it isn't actually like once we build this thing and release it, it isn't a whole lot of ongoing work for us unless people want to add parameters that don't exist. Because we kind of already have to build and maintain these things, for LeoDex itself.
Cool. So have you actually been in touch with any wallets? Do you have any leads that are looking that would use your API right away?
Yeah, there's a few leads. I put out a tweet, a little bit ago, and I asked some people, just reach out if you're interested because, I think we're going to be ready to like, go live with this as soon as like 3 to 4 weeks from now. So yeah, there's been a few people in touch, and I'm pretty excited about it. And like I said, it's like this build your own, literally like this build your own API. So it's like, I guess the best way to imagine it is, if you've ever used like a node provider, where you can like, or even like AWS or something, I guess that would be a good lens into what I'm envisioning for this is like, you can just like create a, username and password, log into AWS, generate an API key, and then integrate it into whatever you're building. And that is what I want to do for, cross-chain swaps. So it's like, okay, I have this whatever app, let's just say someone has like a social media app and they're like, I want to integrate cross-chain swaps. But I don't want to have to like, hire a dev and learn all these, SDKs and all these rule sets. I just want to literally have an API call and build a UI that just calls the API and then serves the API to users. And if that is achievable, then just basically go to this website, generate an API key that does exactly what I'm looking for, and then just plug that into my website. And then now I have cross-chain swaps. And it's fully modular. So like if someone wants to, and this is where I think we're kind of hitting like a breakthrough moment. If someone wants to only have THORChain swaps, they can only have THORChain swaps. If someone wants to, only have Maya swaps, they can only have Maya swaps. Or if they want to have THORChain and Maya, they can do that. And then from there, we actually have also made it so you can do specific assets. So like say the, Dash team wants to support the ability to buy Dash and literally nothing else. You'll be able to do that with the APIs we're building.
Cool. So what if the social media app, for example, they put in your API, they start doing some trades, and one of their users has a problem, issue with the trade? Do they will that social media app then tell people, oh, you got to go talk to the LeoKit people, and then you guys provide support for that user? How does that work?
Yeah, so that's where we get into the fun part of doing all this stuff. The reason why I want to build this stuff in like a very like simplistic API format is because I think it would create a situation where there wouldn't be a whole lot of issues because essentially if this swap route is working on LeoDex, it's working everywhere because it's all using the same API at a fundamental level. So what I think would happen is the user would say, hey, let's just assume this social media app has like a tech support of some kind. They'd probably open tech support with the social media app and say, hey, this swap, didn't work. And then the social media app would then reach out to LeoKit, obviously through LeoDex's tech support and say, hey, this swap didn't work for XYZ reasons. And then we'd have to figure out why.
Cool. Man, I'm brain farting. I had a follow-up question to that, and it just totally left my brain. Paige, do you have any?
Yes, I do.
You want to jump in? Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely. So, hey, Cal, you talked to you, I want to say maybe a little over a year ago, and you've wanted a mobile version of LeoDex, right? And the biggest problem was the freaking app store, right? That was caused you so much consternation back then. If I heard you correctly earlier, you said, you said something about mobile. Is that coming? And have you figured out the whole app store rigmarole, the whole game there?
Yeah, the App Store has gotten significant, and I'm sure people have noticed it's gotten significantly more friendly. It was we went through a time where like even Twitter, when Elon took it over, there was like this talk that it was going to get removed from the App Store, which obviously never happened. But there was like this very unfriendly environment when it came to app stores, and I have pretty extensive experience with apps. We actually had a Inleo mobile app, so like mobile app for our social media site. Um, and we had it on the App Store, and then it got removed. And then I basically fought with Apple back and forth. Eventually got it back up, and then they took it down. And then I was like this cat and mouse game for months. And then I finally just said, screw this. I'm sick of. I mean, there's like so many tweets where I posted. I was like, I'm sick of mobile apps. I do not want to build mobile apps. I am building web apps forever. I don't want to deal with it. So I got to the point where I was just so frustrated when it came to app stores that I said web apps are the future, because you can't take down a web app. We're in this like really tough regulatory environment just across the board, really. For crypto, like you couldn't run crypto ads, and I'm sure Kenton's seeing that with the THORChain org swap website, and it's like I think now it's significantly better, but I still think there's this like hesitation when it comes to crypto ads or apps in general, and it's just obnoxious in my opinion. Um, that being said, you know, I mean, it's everybody knows this, but the world has moved mobile. It's not like a question that you have to be mobile. And I was just talking to someone yesterday about LeoDex, and they were like, "Yeah, if you had a mobile app, I would use it, but I won't use it if you don't have a mobile app." So we are working on a mobile app, and I will just basically bite my tongue and try to get it on the app store. I think the environment now to get apps live is significantly better than it was say 2 3 4 years ago. So hopefully it's not a headache, and we can just kind of roll it out and push it live.
Yeah, you're right. The app, everything's going to be mobile. The people who are coming into this industry, the air quotes normies, they want to do things on their phone. They don't want to do it on their desktop. They want it super simple, like any other app on your phone where you go to pay for something. So, yeah, I remember you talking about how unbelievably difficult it was to get the App Store to make them happy. So, yeah, I would encourage you to keep doing it, man, because that's a must, right? Keep your website, obviously, but the app is essential. Everyone, especially these kids coming in, or maybe I shouldn't say kids, even older people, everyone wants that mobile experience. That's just a much. So I hope that works well. Kenton, did you remember your question that you wanted to ask? I have more.
I actually did. So you have a token, right? There's a token for LeoDex.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Yeah, the Leo token.
will the Leo kit, any fees or any money it makes, does that the people that own the Leo token have some way to participate in that?
Yeah, and I guess this is kind of an interesting setup when it comes to how Leo works in general, and how it's always worked. Is any fees of any kind flow to Leo holders? So, with LeoDex now, there's an affiliate fee that gets charged on swaps. 100% of those fees go to Leo holders, and then on InLeo, the same setup essentially works where the InLeo social media site, has like this premium model, and then like an ads model and whatnot, and it generates revenue, and 100% of that revenue actually just flows back to people who hold the token. So there is no like team share of fees or revenue of any kind. Essentially, what the team earns is just based on how much Leo we have. So between myself and then devs that work on the team, we basically just own Leo, and our goal is just how do we grow the inflows to Leo, because if let's just say we own 10 15 20% of the supply, we basically just get a 10% cut, but we get it organically by just holding the token. So that's always been kind of the vision, and it's kind of unbelievable, but we've been live for like 7 years now, like I said, with our token. So the token's very widely distributed to people in our community, and yeah, we just whether it's LeoKit, whether it's LeoDex, or in Leo, or the new Leo AI that we just released, which is essentially like a ChatGPT LLM. All those fees and revenues just flow straight to the token. So with LeoKit, 100% of the the basis points that get charged on swaps will just flow straight to Leo stakers.
So did you follow the whole swap kit and Thor swap drama with swap kit being spun out and the Thor token holders not getting access to it anymore? And apparently it was something to do, I don't know, regulatory reasons or whatever. They couldn't do it. And I don't know the full story, but what happened was the Thor token holders, everyone was expecting to start collecting fees from SwapKit, and then the swap people running SwapKit kind of said, no, that's not going to happen anymore. And so the Thor token holders everyone was pretty frustrated, felt like they were left holding the bag. Is there any risk of that happening with LeoKit and Leo token holders? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I have been actually a Thor token holder for a very long time. I actually got into THORChain during the multi-chain chaos net days, and I got THORSwap was obviously I think like the only UI at the time. So I was a huge fan of THORSwap in general, and I'm not saying that I'm no longer a fan, but I bought a lot of Thor, and I obviously have held Rune for a very long time. And I was very excited about SwapKit. I mean, there's probably tweets from me, back in the day, where I was talking about, how Thor holders were going to do phenomenally because of SwapKit. And I was very frustrated, when all of that went down. I definitely understand why that happened. And I think that, again, kind of tying into what I was saying about the mobile app, the environment, especially from a regulatory standpoint, was so different 3-4 years ago, which I think is roughly around the time when SwapKit came out. It was just so different. So I am frustrated by it as a Thor holder, but I also can understand it as a developer. And I understand why it happened. I do think that it can change, and I think that there has been a little bit of a tone change from THORSwap and SwapKit, in terms of these things. So the regulatory environment is significantly different now when it comes to many things related to crypto. For LeoKit specifically, we will never change the 100% flow to stakers. So I actually think we are the trouble you can run into is when a team is taking a cut of the revenue. And I think we've kind of sidestepped this in a really important way, which is, Leo, whether it's LeoDex, whether it's in Leo, whether it's LeoKit, the team literally takes 0% from the inflows. And instead, 100% of the inflows go to the token and the stakers. And then we are just stakers alongside everybody else, which I actually think gives us significant protections when it comes to regulatory environments and whatnot. Because what regulators look at, especially when it comes to crypto, and just like securities in general, is what is the benefit? What is the financial benefit that comes from something? And the way I've always built Leo, from the beginning, like I said, like 7 years ago at this point, where the environment was a lot tighter, was always in this way where, if the team is not taking any revenue, like we literally take 0%, then we have a lot of air cover to just do what we do, build things that flow straight to the token, and that's the entire model. And we just, we can build LeoKit, we can build LeoDex, we can build InLeo, we can build our AI, which is called Rafiki, a fun play on the Lion King. And we can just build these things and flow all the revenue to the token. And, that gives us that air cover where we can say, well, the team is, we are developing these things in essentially a DAO structure, but we have zero financial benefit from them. And I think that gives us a lot of air cover. So LeoKit will never, whether it's LeoDex or LeoKit, we will never change that 100% flow to stakers rule.
So I didn't know you're that involved with or following THORSwap that closely in SwapKit. If you know what happened, can you explain it to us? Can you walk us through why? You said you understand. You're not happy, but you understand it. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, and I have I have kind of like, okay, I'm an investor viewpoint of it, right? Like I invested in the Thor token, and I was, expecting the outcome of, obviously THORSwap was I think the only THORChain UI at the time, and this was before mainnet. And I was expecting, THORSwap is going to do really well, and then they're going to come out with this thing called SwapKit, and it was, very hyped. That it's basically going to power all swaps. They actually ended up achieving that, which is incredible. Getting it in the ledger and all these other things. And at that time, it was just like this like literally like this just broad goal. And the way it kind of unfolded from my perspective was, basically it kept getting hyped. Yeah, SwapKit's going to come out. It's going to power all the swaps. It's going to be the fundamental layer of cross-chain swapping. And the Thor token holders, similar to how THORSwap works, are going to get, whatever the percentage of the fees was at the time. I don't really remember the exact, split of them. There was like some percentage to the team and then some percentage to Thor holders. If you hold, so when you stake Thor, you get like VThor, and I think there's other forms of staked Thor tokens at this point. But you basically get like this VThor position, and then you earn some percentage of the fees. So the way it kind of unfolded was SwapKit. I believe right before SwapKit came out, or maybe it was right after. I'm not sure exactly. There was, and people who hold Thor will basically say it was a rug pull, which I know is kind of a harsh terminology, but I actually do feel that it was kind of done in this way, where it was like, it was a little bit of a bait and switch. And it was like, hey, by the way, Thor holders are not getting any financial benefit from SwapKit. And it's because we have to spin it out into a new entity, and there can't be any finance. And like I was saying before, especially in a tighter regulatory environment, what regulators look at is who is getting the financial benefit. And there was just kind of this moment where it was like, hey, we're spinning this off into its own thing, and there's zero financial benefit if you're a Thor holder, and we have to do it this way because of regulations. And that's how it kind of unfolded. And at that point, I was, like I said, I was a mixture of like frustrated, but I understood. I didn't sell any of my Thor. I actually still hold it today. I genuinely think that like the THORSwap and SwapKit team are like really positive for the cross-chain ecosystem, in terms of like, spreading it. They've done a very good job of that. Like I said, I still hold the Thor. I used THORSwap really up until we started working on LeoDex. Obviously, now I eat my own dog food and I use LeoDex for everything. But I was a THORSwap user until we built LeoDex, and I didn't give up on just genuinely supporting what they were doing. Obviously, as a rune holder, it also makes sense to support them. But yeah, that's kind of how it unfolded in my perspective. It was a little bit of a bait and switch.
I can add some context here. I don't have the inside baseball, but it happened after SwapKit was live, but SwapKit was in infancy, and the in the Discord, people were saying, when do fees get turned on? When does this happen? From what I understand, it was the legal team advising them, or a legal person or whatever, telling them that it was not a good idea to do. I don't remember if they said it would be like a security or whatever it would be, but ultimately it was it was their legal counsel that told them not to do it. Is from what I remember and and the bad thing was it came out in the worst way possible because it wasn't them that revealed that, it was JP that made the comment on some space that wasn't even a THORChain space, if I remember correctly. And that's how the word got out. So they didn't really have control of the comms at that point. And then yeah, it was a negative experience from there. But that's from what I remember. But yes, that's what happened. But anyway, sounds like you're going to dodge that problem, Cal. If you do not have a direct stream there and it's just Leo holders, I think that's a pretty good counter to that problem.
Yeah, I think it is. You know, and we're obviously in an environment now where it is a little bit wild westy. Like people are kind of doing whatever they want, and it's not just crypto. Like across the board in every industry. You know, not and also not just in the U.S., but obviously the U.S. kind of leads the narrative on this stuff. Um, you know, things have really loosened in terms of regulations. But that being said, I think by taking no benefit, there is a significant there's basically a significant air cover to do things by taking no financial benefit. Because basically, you know, someone comes in and they say, well, you're building this stuff and you're making $1 million a month. Like what are you know, obviously you're supporting illicit flows, you're whatever they want to say about it. You know, whether you're, you know, just allowing normal swaps or you're supporting all people to swap or you're, you know, doing KYC or whatever. They can point directly to who's financially benefiting, and that will be the number one attack vector, essentially. And yeah, so my vision has always been for everything, and not just for the regulation, you know, reason, but just in general, has been to just flow it straight to the stakers and make sure that, you know, myself and the team own enough of the token that, you know, the financial benefit of just building this stuff and flowing it to the stakers is, you know, in our favor. Because, you know, not only do we get, you know, basically a share of that through our tokens, but then the token goes up, and then, you know, that token going up is never a problem. So if the token goes up and you're getting flows and you're building, you know, good stuff, then everybody wins. And that's always been my approach.
Yeah. And about what you said earlier about the environment being a little less, more friendly, maybe is the word. One thing I would just say is this is, I think, very temporary happenstance. And from what I gather, just seeing what's going on, we very easily can recede back into a darker time when it comes to overbearing regulation, because, you know, what you're building, what THORChain's building is very powerful. It's very powerful. Removing the intermediaries is what is going to lead to us being a huge target. So I think it's really good that you guys are taking not only just a smart approach, but that's pretty maximally defensive, and it just works. It follows first principles pretty well. So shout out to you. Okay, so we talked about the Leo thing. So there's Leo, and then there's S Leo. Does S Leo mean staked Leo by chance?
Yeah, exactly. So a good framework mentally would be like how STCY works. Like STCY isn't technically another token, but it's just staked TCY. So S Leo is just staked Leo.
Perfect. And so, okay, so you have the aggregator you're building. You offer swaps on your various interfaces. And by the way, we did give you kudos before you arrived about you offering the free interface first. So you've got lots of praise and love there. I want you to know that. So that was definitely covered. So
Thank you.
yeah. And as I told people, I sent a lot of people your way that are now probably Leo holders, because you guys were the first to do that. We didn't have our interface. So very smart decision by you. You got good instincts, man. So you have the DEX aggregator, you have the interface. Are you also working on a point of sale as well?
Yeah. So we have something called Leo Merchants. And I guess if you've been familiar with, you know, how Leo is in general, we are like all fronts attack type of team. So we look at how we can build something at like a fundamental layer that can then solve many problems. So like I was saying about Leo Kit, it actually can also be used in a Leo Merchants environment, where essentially people can handle cross-chain payments. So So for example, and we actually have this piloted at some stores right now. You can, walk in, scan a QR code, and then essentially pay with something like USDC, for example. And the merchant will receive whatever they want. So if they want Bitcoin, if they want Ethereum, if they want Zcash, whatever is supported, they can just receive that crypto as the settlement. And the customer pays in whatever they want. And it's just like scan a QR code and it's done. And it all like ties very naturally into what we've been building with LeoKit. So yeah, the point of sale, in my opinion, will end up being probably one of the most important layers in the long run. I mean, if you look at like Visa, MasterCard, the payment processing industry is just massive.
That's why I said it's happenstance that we have a loose environment now, because, right, you're removing the biggest, most powerful intermediaries in the world that have been in power for what, decades now? Visa, MasterCard. You push something, a point of sale, right? You've got the Leo point of sale. They're gonna try and buy people out, but it's pretty easy to spin. Well, it's not easy, but anyone can spin one up, right? And the ability to undercut these intermediaries there's been nothing like it. To build your own credit card infrastructure is enormously challenging, almost like building a car industry. It's really hard to do. Elon put it, but to software that you can use for a point of sale. Man, that's where I'm thinking it's going to get a little dicey. But anyway, Kenton, did you have something you wanted to ask?
Maybe more of a comment. For years, it's been stuck in my head that, when you go to a restaurant with a group of friends and there's like 10 or 15 of you and everybody wants to split the bill, and it's just a giant nightmare for you and your friends and the waiter, right? And like, I'm like, I can't believe no one's figured out a way to like make this more simple. Like, yeah, we can. There's Venmo, but that, it's in the U.S. and you can Venmo each other. I don't know. I don't know what exists in the rest of the world, but like, it's still just cumbersome. And I'm like, there's got to be an easier way to break up this bill that's easier for the customer and for the restaurant. And I keep thinking, I wonder if this is a gimmick or a way for like a crypto point of sale app to like edge their way into businesses. If they can create an app where like you figure out how to split the bill amongst a large group of people in a restaurant, and like and then you also are able to pay in crypto, right? So like the value add, when you take the point of sale to the business, to the, say, restaurant, like they're like, well, what's the benefit for me, right? They don't care about crypto. Like, how am I going to make more dollars? And like, well, I can make your life easier by having this way to split up bills, and it all gets paid, in dollars into your account. Plus, you could also take all these different cryptos. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll try it. But what they're really buying, or reason why they're really integrating it, is to make their lives easier on splitting up the bill. And then the crypto part is just kind of that's part of the payment processing flow along with fiat. And I don't know, Cal, what your thoughts are on that, but anytime someone brings up point of sale to me, I always try to plant this idea because I feel like it's just right for somebody to figure that out. And if whoever figures it out, it's going to be, I would think it would take off like wildfire, because like, every restaurant has this problem. And I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Cal?
Yeah, that's honestly, I hadn't really thought about that, but it is a good use case. I mean, usually restaurants will say like we'll split the bill like 2 to 4 ways, and then if you have like 5 or 6 plus people, they're like, yeah, no, we're not gonna split it that many ways. Um, I hadn't really thought about that, but the way Leo Merchants works is if anyone here is familiar with memoless on THORChain, it's somewhat similar, where basically a payment channel is opened, and in like a receiving address is generated. Um, in theory, and I actually haven't seen anybody test this, but in theory, if someone were to send, let's say that the payment channel is opened, the payment channel is expecting to receive a certain dollar figure in order to settle the payment and consider it complete. So for example, if someone if the bill, let's say the bill is $100, right? If someone sends $50 into the payment channel, the payment channel understands that only $50 is in there. If another transaction goes in there for $50, then it will consider it complete. So in theory, you could use that as a split bill feature. I hadn't actually thought of that use case in terms of the UI. So I think we should definitely make a like, how a lot of restaurants now have like the little QR, like they'll usually have like a piece of paper or like a little like glass thing on the table, and it'll say like pay or split bill. I think we should add something to UI that says like split bill, and you definitely can just pay into it, and it will, it basically, if you had, I mean, even if you had 50 people, if the bill is $100 and 50 people each send $2 into the payment channel, it would complete the payment once $100 is received. So that would definitely be a really good use case. The only thing we would have to figure out outside of the UI would be if people want to pay in multiple cryptos. That would be that would be significantly harder to handle. But I do think it's possible where we could, like let's say you're at dinner and it's $100. Two people want to split the bill, and one person has, let's say Bitcoin, and the other person has Ethereum. You would it definitely would be hard to handle both of those if they want to split it, but not impossible when I think about it.
Well, if only there was an aggregator, something like LeoKit, that could be used.
Yeah, exactly, where it just gets automatically converted.
What I was thinking is let's say you go to KFC, right? Cal's Fried Chicken. It's a sit-down restaurant, right? And like the bill is it can be individualized, right? You don't need to take one bill and then abstract away or put the complexity of like this much getting paid with this. Like each individual people would, I'm assuming it's an app. I don't know, right? The Leo merchant, but individuals then can place their order. And so that's a separate bill that's unique to that individual, and so they just pay for what they want instead of just having like one bill. And that, like, the way I imagine it is if you had an app that's like, it's like a template builder, right? You give it to the business, they add the products on there, they add the prices, and then when I come in with my app, I sit down, I open it up, I select, okay, I'm at Cal's Fried Chicken, and then I want 8-piece and mashed potatoes, gravy, blah 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 blah. And then that gets automatically transferred to the business. Like it's streamlined. You know what I mean? That there's a lot more complexity in there, I grant you, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Instead of like, because you're right, that would be really complicated. But I don't want to. Okay, one thing you mentioned, and this is the title of the space, so I think we need to talk about this. LeoDex was the first UI to implement memoless. You just mentioned memoless, Cal. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so outside of the official THORChain swapping interface, which is beautiful, by the way, we are, I believe, the first and only UI to add memoless, and we called it Instant Swap, and really I was just kind of working with the team, and I think I was like sitting in the sauna or something. I was thinking of a name, and I was like, I genuinely think I think the best name is no name. But I did realize we need to have some sort of name. And I was like, what is just something just really simple and understandable? And Instant Swap just kind of popped in my head. So that's how we landed on calling it Instant Swap. But really what it is THORChain memoless. And it's been a funny progression. We actually built, and this all ties. It's funny how the universe just kind of works things out. But we actually built a QR to swap feature several months ago. I don't really remember the exact date when we released that. And we built it for Zcash originally. And this was when, Zcash was like $50 and the trading volume was like good, but not crazy yet. And then things obviously took off from there. But we built it for Zcash because there was no good way to handle Zcash wallets. So we wanted to handle, Zashi and things like that. So we built this QR to swap feature where basically we created, when someone wanted to swap, we would generate a key store in the browser of the user, that's on LeoDex. We would generate a key store, and then it would create basically what is effectively a deposit channel, and then the user would be able to swap Zcash through that deposit channel, which is basically just a key store in their browser. So we were very perfectly positioned when Memolist came out, because I looked at Memolist and I was like, wow, this is literally what we just built for Zcash. But instead of being at the browser level for the user, it is at the protocol level. So it creates a deposit address or deposit channel, and then there's an address. User sends the exact amount to that address, and then the swap is handled. And that's how THORChain Memolist works, for swaps specifically. And I was like, we are literally perfectly positioned. Like, we've already built the UI, we've already built the logic for this. And then Memolist came out, and I was like, amazing. Like, now we can abstract away the kind of key store part of things, because we were planning to add the QR to swap feature to a bunch of assets. Like, we were going to add it for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these other assets. And now we literally don't have to, because THORChain does it at the protocol level. So I think it's like this amazing innovation. We've seen a little bit of usage so far. I'm very surprised we're not seeing more. But I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. But it is, in my opinion, it's a breakthrough, because it is like literally any wallet, as long as your wallet can send the crypto that you want to swap, you can swap it. When we released the QR to swap feature, I don't remember if it was me or Joel from Dash, the Dash team, but someone came up with this idea. It was either him or me. I'll let him take the credit for it. The saying is, if you can send it, you can swap it. And we came out with that for the QR to swap. And then when Memolist came out, I started reverberating that, and I think it's a great tagline for Memolist, which is, if you can send it, you can swap it. So if you can send Bitcoin, you can literally swap it on THORChain, and it doesn't matter what wallet you have. You could literally have a paper wallet from 12 years ago, and as long as you can send that Bitcoin to that deposit address, you're good. So I think Memolist is like a major breakthrough, and I think it'll take a little bit of time. But I think when the world kind of catches on to that, it's going to take off.
Copy left. I'm writing it down. Gonna use it.
Yeah, take it.
I like it. But yeah, that's kind of what we've kind of, hearing everyone's feedback and everything, and the way the UI works on the THORChain interface. I think we're just gonna go with just swapping, and not really try to name it, and just make it part of the flow, part of the way to swap. And like you said, if you can send it, you can swap it. And basically just do a catch-all, whether you want to connect your wallet or not. I think that's the way we're leaning right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. It's like, just if the user's not connected with the wallet, it's kind of like how a Tesla, just like, if the Tesla, if you're parked in a parking spot, I don't know if anyone here's driven a Tesla, but if you're parked in a parking spot and you're up against a wall, the Tesla will just automatically be in reverse, because it knows you're obviously not going straight. And I think that I think that Memolist swap should be the same. So, like, if the user is trying to swap and they don't have a wallet connected, we'll just let them do the swap. Like, you don't have to really call it anything. I know, I'm kind of going against my own thing, because I called it instant swap, but you really should just like let them swap. You don't really need to call it anything, and I think that's a beautifully simple approach.
Well, it's an iterative process, right? Like, this is new, it's fresh. We're all trying different things, and it's gonna, I think after a few months, something will bubble to the surface that we all kind of tend to agree and use in a way to describe it, right? This is part of the, we're innovating live, right? So, you guys, the swap, our chain interface might change, the LeoDex interface might change, right? It's not this stuff has to be set in stone. We're all trying to figure out what the best way for the user is, right? So, yeah.
I thought you said something quite beautiful there. And this is something that Elon Musk has said, you talking about Tesla. It's like the best name is no name. It's like in engineering, the best process is no process, right? Just making it intuitive. You want to convey something without having them think a word. It's like there's a big thing when it comes to door handles, right? You would think that'd be so simple, but just to convey, like when someone comes to a door, there's a lot of things you have to think about. Should I twist and pull? Should I twist and push? Do I have to do that? Do I have to just pull? Like some people just have a bar, right? Like when you have a bar, you only have to pull. And it's like if your UI design is essential, it's absolutely essential to convey something that sounds simple, opening a door, but actually there's a lot of complex mechanical things that are involved. And it has to be just readily intuitive. And if you can unlock that, then you win. That's just how it is. And I think both of you guys I think all of us are doing pretty good on that front so far, at least.
Unless you're in Australia. When I was there a few weeks ago at my uncle's place, his front door, that you got to turn the handle the opposite way.
That's communism.
Yeah,
what in the hell?
It's a mind, yeah. And then the other one is so in Cayman we drive on the left side of the road. And so I've got a car that's right-hand drive. And I have friends come to visit from North America, and they're like, "Oh, it's so driving on the other side of the road is so crazy and different and this and that." I'm like, it's not that. It only takes a couple weeks, and you get totally used to it. Even after all these years, what I'm still not used to is the blinker and the windshield washer, because they're on opposite. The blinker and the wiper blades are on the opposite side of the steering wheel than North American cars, and I still get it wrong. So like I'll go to signal and I turn on my wiper blade, and same with when I go back to North America when I drive on the right side with a left-hand drive car, I can adapt. There's no problem. But the blinkers and the windshield wiper, I can't. For some reason, my brain just cannot figure it out. You get so used to doing one way, and anyway, I just think it's funny because
That's got to be a tell, man. That's got to be such a tell. Someone's driving, you have someone's native to that place, and then they see someone just turn on their wiper blades for no reason. Like, we got a foreigner over there. I guarantee you that's a tell for them.
But I guess I'm bringing up this because this goes to show, like, once people are used to doing a certain way, they just want to keep doing that way, right? They don't want to change. And the more simpler we can make it for people, the more likely they'll keep doing it and not change.
Yeah, it's like tying your shoes, right? Like when you tie your shoes, you just do it. Like I don't even know what happened, right? Like when I put my shoes on, I don't even remember tying them. It's just I'm walking and they're tied, right? It's just there's that automaticity, it's that muscle memory that you have that's very hard to deprogram. Because it's something like when you're driving, you are constantly focused on what you're doing, so that's why your brain can rewire itself. But the windshield wiper, the turn signal, that takes some time because it's circumstantial, right? So it's interesting. I mean, it just goes to show you, like on the UI, you have to, I think, identify. Well, I don't know if we're the trendsetter. I think we're the trendsetter, right? Like well, maybe it's sexes. Sexes set the trend. They set what people are used to, and we have to copy them. Maybe that's the way to put it. But Memolist is kind of a different animal. This is interesting. I have to think about this more. But yeah, I think it's tying in to what is the most intuitive to the average user. We figure that out, we're golden.
Absolutely, and I think you have a good point about the sexes. They do set the trend, and then users are like, well, why doesn't it work this way? And it's because they came from a sex, and they're like, well, this is what I'm used to. And so I would say sexes set the general standards, and then I know Uniswap really kind of created the swap flow. I'm pretty sure it was Uniswap that kind of created the original. Yeah, okay, you put one asset in the top, you put another asset in the bottom, and you hit swap, and that's just what people are used to.
Yeah, exactly. That's you're exactly right. That's why, Ruggiero on App Layer, for example, they're basically just gonna copy and paste the Binance layout, and that's what Hyperliquid has done. That's what when Kraken when they switched over to their Pro interface, looks similar to Binance. I think everyone just copied Binance's layout basically, right? But you're absolutely right. People get used to seeing things a certain way. That's what they want to keep seeing. Same with actually use this example in the past, like the horseless carriage. Like the carriage didn't change; it was just the engine, right? They swapped out a horse for a mechanical motor, but the carriage is basically the same. From the horse-drawn carriage days. If they had completely changed it to look different, it probably would have been harder for people to adopt the horseless carriage because they've been too different. The more we can make things the same, what people are used to using, the easier it'll be for them to adopt it.
I have a little side quest here. Someone had a request for you, Kenton, on the main interface. It was saying, "Hey guys, could we get Kepler Mobile added as supported wallet on swap.thorchain.org? It doesn't work for EVM, only Cosmos." So I just want to tell you that right now, Kenton.
Yeah. Well, memoless should work. But yeah, as far as like connecting a wallet, actually, going back to when we were talking about what people are used to, I agree with memoless that it's awesome. I love it. If you can send it, you can swap it. But when I think about it, I'm like, you know what? There's so many people just used to connecting their wallet to a site to trade. I think they're just going to keep doing it, and they're going to want to do it and demand it. So just like this guy. So I think we're going to have to keep adding wallets to be able to connect to the site. And I'm kind of like Cal, like I want it all, do everything. So in my mind, yeah, we'll get every wallet eventually. So yeah, I think I can't say when Kepler is going to come. I don't know. It'll depend on the dev lift. I'm kind of the mind that we should prioritize wallets that support Rune, the native Rune. I don't know if Kepler supports Rune or not. Well, that's what Koitsu and Reed we're going to play with this weekend. Come up with the list of all the wallets that support native Rune. But yes, try answer is yes. We will. I expect we will support Kepler at one point to be able to connect it to the site. Does LeoDex support Kepler?
Yeah, we've got Kepler. It was like probably one of the most supported wallets. Supported. It was probably one of the most requested wallets. People love Kepler, and I have to say I didn't really use Kepler until people started requesting it, and then I was like, all right, well, I'll download Kepler and start playing around with it. I love that wallet. It's incredible. So I'd say the probably my most used wallet is Kepler now for most things. It's an amazing. It really is an amazing wallet.
Kepler does support Rune. Just thank you, Max Power, for telling me that. So there you go.
Yeah, they have Rune and they have Ruji and they have TCY also.
Oh, okay, then definitely more reason. I was actually thinking that it's not just Rune, but TCY and secured assets. The Ruji token. Yeah, we definitely need to get those wallets. So I'll talk to the guys. Maybe we can get Kepler more up priority list than to get it supported.
And I can confirm that Kepler is a very, very popular wallet within our own community. I think a lot of people, some people struggle with Control Wallet, and a lot of them have gone over the Kepler. I don't know why. There's some sort of conflict there. I've heard that complaint so many times. So yeah, I think it's out of all the wallets, that one would be one of the most important from my experience.
There is something I've experienced it. If you have Kepler and Control extension on the same browser, I find they kind of compete with each other or something like that. I have to keep them separate on two different browsers.
Yeah, I actually I used to use Control very significantly. I'm still a fan of Control. I don't want to talk badly about them, but I've switched mostly over to Kepler from Control. And Control basically injects itself because when an extension is connecting to a site, it's called an injection, and it basically injects into the site to connect to it. And Control will actually try to inject ahead of every wallet. So if you ever and I literally have a browser that has every single wallet you can imagine, just for testing purposes. And every time I have to disable Control because it will try to inject itself ahead of not just Kepler, but literally every wallet. So It is definitely a nuance. I have to tell people all the time, like, if you're trying to use something else and you have control, you have to disable it first.
Can confirm. I have said that to many people as well. So true. And then Max Power also says, especially if we finally get Noble USDC, Kepler is awesome for that. I'm not too familiar with that asset, but there you go.
I think Noble is on the on deck, I think, to be added soon.
Right. So that would be a
yeah.
nice synergy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll make note, guys. Thank you.
And a little hack on the Kepler integration. I know we struggled with it a little bit in certain ways. And the Ruggiero guys have done a lot of legwork on supporting Kepler, and their UIs are open source. So we were able to pull a lot from that. So when you're working with your team, I would definitely suggest, like, if you're looking for a quick hack, definitely look at what the Ruggiero guys have done in terms of supporting Kepler, and it'll save you some time.
Great, thank you.
Gosh dang it, Cal. That was a great suggestion. Love this guy.
Well,
let's follow Cal.
Let's
Go
bring
ahead,
it back to LeoDex. So, Cal, is there anything about Leo that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I feel like we covered it. I think we covered everything really well. Like, a lot of my focus is on LeoKit right now. We just released the Rafiki model, which is, basically our own LLM. So I'm pretty excited about that. I know it's kind of non-Dex in nature, so it's unrelated to what we're talking about. But I've been kind of head down on a lot of the AI stuff lately. So that's been a fun little kind of side quest. But yeah, I think we've mostly covered everything. I think you're going to see LeoKit come out, and that's going to be kind of our big next thing, in my opinion.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, the website for LeoDex is leodex.io. LeoDex.io. For those listening to the recording of this, absolutely stellar team, a wonderful contributors to this space, super helpful. And as you guys can tell, it's just, you're a great guy, Cal. Really appreciate you, man. You do a great job. Your team's excellent. We talked about earlier how efficient and competent your devs are. Man, fantastic work over there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We've been building for a long time, so I feel like I've got a really good setup with my team, and we're just we're not like a huge team, and people always ask how many people are on the team, and I like to keep that close to the vest. But it's people would be surprised by how efficient we are, and I do think there's some benefits to being like a smaller team and just being very headstrong. Like, okay, we're doing this, and then everybody just does that, and then we roll it out, and then we're on to the next thing. So thank you for noticing that. I appreciate it.
Well, when you started speaking, boys, we got a $2 million swap that just started on THORChain, and the aggregator is SwapKit. So I hope one day, LeoKit can get some of those. That'd be awesome. I think that would be great, right? So, yeah, man, I think you're well on your way. And reputation's everything. It really is. As Kenton said earlier about marketing, do we rebrand or not? Is the THORChain brand a little tainted? Well, I think personally it can be recovered, and I think we're well on our way. And I think we've already done a lot of that, right? I mean, TCY, that was pretty incredible. But the one thing about LeoDex is that you guys just have a really stellar reputation. And if anyone ever says anything bad, which I hardly ever see, I immediately defend you, not because I have a vested interest in doing that. It's just because it's merited. I believe in merit, right? You defend things, you speak out against if you see something wrong. So your guys' reputation's doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. You've got the winning formula.
Thank you. Yeah, and I really appreciate that. And on the rebrand, I do think that a lot of it is just like token price go up. Like you look at like Zcash,
Yep,
and Dash, and it's like, those have had kind of a negative. I mean, even Zcash's brand was kind of negative for a while, and it really just has to do with the token price if you really kind of boil it down to the fundamentals. So once the once the token price starts going up, everybody's like, yeah, Zcash is the best thing that's ever been invented. And I love Zcash, by the way. I think before it started going up, and we added it because Maya added it. I was looking at it and I was like, I always heard about Zcash, and actually the brand was kind of in the way for me. I was like, well, it's been around for a while. It's probably not going to do anything crazy. Then I started learning about, shielded pools and how their technology works. And I was like, wow, this is like incredible. And then when the price started going up, now everybody loves Zcash. So I think on the branding point, it's like, when the Rune price starts going up, which I think it inevitably will, just as the volume kind of continues to do its thing, the brand is going to just fix itself, and it really is like a price action thing. And that's just kind of it's kind of the environment we're in with crypto. We just have to kind of take it how it is.
Yeah, I agree. And do you have go ahead, Kenton.
No, good.
There is someone who has a question for you, Cal. Give me 1 second. He was wondering. Sorry, I'm just going. Okay. He didn't really cover real world assets. Is there something about real world assets that's something LeoDex is doing? Maybe I don't understand the question. But floor is yours.
Yeah, great question. So there is a community created DAT, which if you're not following the DAT space, it's digital asset treasuries. So MicroStrategy was like the big one, and then now you've seen a lot of other ones come out. I'd say probably the most famous recently is the Winklevoss twins came out with one for Zcash. So there is one that people have created on Leo. Basically a group of whales, and then I'm an advisor on their board, and it's called Leo Strategy. So it's basically like MicroStrategy, and what they're doing is releasing real world assets that are backed by Leo on their balance sheet. And then we're adding them to LeoDex. So there's tokenized Tesla and tokenized gold, and they're basically rolling them out one by one. And then they're just going to kind of slowly scale. So they'll roll them out and then scale them up one by one. And I'm actually extremely excited about what it means because, and you guys asked earlier about my vision for LeoDex. And while it is, very heavy on LeoKit and things like that, my vision is like the everything DEX. That's kind of like the tagline, and I want to be able to support, literally everything. So there are definitely tokens out there that are RWAs. I have a little bit of qualms about them when it comes to how they're backed and things like that. So having like Leo native RWAs is obviously very good for the token. And yeah, so we've got, if you go to LeoDex and you search tokenized Tesla or TTSLA or tokenized gold TGLD, those will come up, and you can trade them. And then there's hopefully going to be, like, I'd say if you zoom out maybe 5 to 10 years from now, hundreds of these things.
Man, gosh dang it, this opens a whole can of worms for me. I know we're thinking about ending the space, but now I have so many questions. I don't know how that works. How do you have a tokenized? So let's use Tesla stock. Never mind gold for a second. Tesla stock. So there is real Tesla stock here, but there's the LeoDex derivative of it. So who's custodying the Tesla stock? How does that work? And how is it backed by the Leo token? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, and honestly, when I learned about this, I was like, and I obviously, they're pinging me about this stuff before it goes live. So I have like an advisory capacity on it. And when we were talking about it, I was like, this is like the most genius thing I've ever heard. So if anyone here is familiar with MicroStrategy's products, and I'll try to keep this brief, things like Stretch, for example, is like their most well-known product. It's like basically a money market fund, but it's a stock, right? So it's STRC is the ticker. You buy it and they pay you a yield, basically a dividend, and it's meant to act like a money market fund. And basically they're doing that with preferred stock on the stock market. Well, Leo Strategy said, well, why don't we take this model where you're doing preferred stocks and do it with RWAs. So MicroStrategy is doing it and backing them with Bitcoin. So there's no money market money market fund that's backing the STRC ticker, right? There's Bitcoin on MicroStrategy's balance sheet, and that is backing the money market fund. Leo Strategy took the same model and said, let's build synthetic RWAs so there is no Tesla stock that backs them. it's only Leo. So they consider things a Leo standard, which is like how MicroStrategy looks at Bitcoin. And their sole mission is like, release these products, raise capital, buy Leo, put it on the balance sheet, and then use that Leo as collateral for each asset. So for example, tokenized Tesla is over collateralized by Leo that is held by LeoStrategy. And there is no way to redeem it. Similar to how, if you have STRC on the stock market, you can't redeem that for a money market fund. You just buy into it, and when you're done, you sell out of it on the market. So same thing for tokenized Tesla and tokenized gold is these things have a Leo standard. So they're, LeoStrategy's holding Leo on their balance sheet. And essentially you buy into tokenized gold, it has a synthetic peg to the price of GLD, which is Spider GLD on the stock market. And the price roughly moves with that. And then, when you're done, you can just sell it and it pays you a yield.
Interesting. I'm just my mind is just consuming all that information right now.
Yeah, and I have I didn't really talk about this, but before crypto, my background is as an options trader. So I have a very deep history with derivatives in general, but deeply with options. So all of this stuff is like it's like lighting up my brain when it comes to how derivatives are really designed and built, and it's just fascinating. So it's if nothing else, I mean, people basically talk about the peg and if you can trust it and things like that. Obviously I trust it. I'm obviously a believer in Leo and the things we're doing, so I naturally trust it. But if nothing else, you don't have to buy it, but just watch it, because I think it's really just like this fascinating experiment in economics.
Yeah, if you got a video that kind of breaks it down, because I don't know if my mental model is correct. If you guys ever do like a live stream, please share it with me, because I'd be curious to learn more. I do have a question for you, Cal. They just keep coming in at this point. They don't want the space to end. Degenerate wants to know how many days left for the TGLD pre-sale.
Yeah, and there are videos. I'll just
perfect.
DM you a link. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. It's got like 790 subscribers or something. So nobody's really watching, but I will continue to talk into the void, and I have done so for years.
Well done, sir.
So yeah, I'll shoot you the link to the channel, and I cover a lot of that stuff and just like Leo stuff in general. In terms of the TGLD pre-sale, so the way LeoStrategy works is every time they release a new asset, they have a limited pre-sale of the asset. This is pretty common for I mean, really everything. Robinhood is doing art. They're doing RWAs, but they're also doing like tokenized private equities now, and they're basically doing pre-sales in a different way. So a lot of these assets are pre-sold to the market, basically to get them into hands, and then get it live. So LeoStrategy essentially does the same thing as MicroStrategy, which is to pre-sell the assets at a discount and then take them to market after. So the TGLD pre-sale is the current one, and I think it ends on November 24th. So that is on Monday. And once it ends, so basically it's in pre-sale, which means that there's a liquidity pool on Uniswap for the asset, and then people can buy into the pool. So you basically like buy it out of the pool, and then once the pre-sale's over, then LeoStrategy adds liquidity to the pool, and then it's open market trading from there. And they use all the proceeds to buy Leo and then put it on their balance sheet, which then collateralizes TGLD and all the other assets.
Okay, perfect. I have personally one question that I remembered I wanted to ask, and then I'll kick it to Kenton and see if there's anything else, and then maybe that will be a good spot to end. In the very beginning of the conversation, Cal, Kenton and I were talking about supporting Monero, and there is a centralized exchange that we're going to try with the interface that so far has a good history. Is Monero supported on LeoDex, and if so, how do you support it?
That's a great question. I'm going to pull up LeoDex right now and look. I feel like we do support Monero, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
no, we don't. We actually don't.
Okay. Okay. All right. I was asking if maybe you had experience with also that central, because Paul from Edgewall and others do it. But okay, well then no worries. Not topical to the conversation. We had a little bit of a conversation about it before. Okay, Kenton, did you have anything else at all you wanted to ask?
Well, I'll just fill Calvin further. So there's that's an exchange called Let's Exchange. It's a sex, and Cake Wallet and Edge Wallet use it to do trades through Monero there. But apparently they've never frozen a trade like Changely or Change Now. You know, they do address and wallet screening, and they just reject or refund the trade if it's you know, from an address they don't want to deal with. So they don't freeze anything. And our devs working on the Dex aggregator, the unstoppable guys, like they're gonna integrate it for their wallet. And so for us having a THORChain front end, it's just a flick of a switch if we want to do it. And so I asked the community, you know, what are you guys' thoughts about sending trades through a centralized exchange on our front end? You know, my concern is a trade getting frozen, you know, and somebody getting stuck. I don't want to do that because I think it's really what's the word?
Bad PR. Bad, yeah.
Yeah, and like it really drives me nuts for like Ledger sending trades to Changely and Change Now. Like they just, you know, they shouldn't be doing that. And so I don't want to be a hypocrite and us do it too. But apparently this exchange has a different policy on how they handle, you know, trades they don't want to deal with. So so anyways, I'll put it towards the community to see what everybody's thoughts were. You know, if we offer it and, you know, just use a disclaimer and there's a centralized exchange, you know, and my thinking was just, you know, just adding to the user experience, right? Giving them more what they want. So it's like you guys, LeoKid you guys could do it too. So anyway, curious to your thoughts, I guess maybe in general on adding centralized exchanges like that to your exchange aggregator. Have you guys thought about that? Looked into it? Are you open to it? Or are you against it?
And there's no KYC.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a big point is obviously like compatibility. If it works like a DEX, in terms of like you send the crypto in and it sends the crypto out, I guess I don't really see a problem adding it. Maybe the user should just like be told, you know, this is going to route, and obviously you kind of do this naturally by telling them where their trade is routed through, whether it's a DEX protocol or not. So that the user knows, okay, you know, I'm routing this through a SEX, and then it's up to the user. I'm very big on, and you probably can tell by the way that, you know, fees flow to Leo and Leo stakeholders and whatnot. I'm a very big fan of just like give the user the tool and let them, you know, do whatever they do with the tool. So I don't see any problem with giving them the ability to do it, and then it's up to them. You know, it's in their hands from there.
Well, if you guys are interested, I'm sure I can. If you need an introduction to Let's Exchange, I'm sure I can help facilitate that. Something you guys want to offer.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
thank you. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, for sure.
So we have a lot of Monero people. Like I see Max Power in the audience, and right, like to use the interface, you know, we would do this would be like an intermediary step, right? We can inculcate the idea that, you know, Zcash Monero is available on the interface, and then once we add it natively, then, you know, then we would swap to us directly. But by at that point, we've already conditioned a lot of people that Monero would be available on the interface of THORChain. I think it just wins straight up. And Cal said the same thing that I mentioned earlier. Just let people know it's going through a third party, and that's the way to do it, I think. All right, perfect. Kenton, are you there? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, that's good for me.
Oh,
I say maybe we start wrapping it up here.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Cal. Really appreciate it. And if anyone's listening to this right now, if you want to just hear, if you came in super late and you just want to hear the LeoDex part, it starts about an hour and 25 minutes. We had a little bit of a delay, not a big deal at all. We pushed through it, and here we are. It's been a great conversation, Cal. Do you have any final words before I wrap it up here?
Yeah, no, I think this has been amazing. Yeah, I really appreciate the space, and sorry about the mix up on the timing. I feel so awful about that.
Don't worry about it.
I appreciate you guys staying on and you know, really just kind of taking the time to do this in general, but then especially with that. So thank you for both that and the space in general. This has been a lot of fun, and obviously I come to these every Saturday. So you guys are doing a great job, and between this and then also Thursday, every Thursday, I think is genius. So keep up the good work, and the interface is looking beautiful as well. So I would say use LeoDex if you'd like to support, but also use the THORChain interface and spread that, because while LeoDex supports many routes and I want it to be the everything Dex, I am a Rune maxi. And I'm pretty self-proclaimed about that. My biggest bag in crypto is Rune, and I truly believe that THORChain is not just like a great project and a great ecosystem, but like essentially an essential good for the world. So I want to see THORChain succeed above and beyond everything else, and that is my secret public service announcement, is to just support THORChain. It's a good tie into what we were just talking about with supporting other routes and sexes and whatnot. If things can flow back into getting more flows to THORChain, I'm all for whatever it takes to do that. So keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, no worries on the time. That happens to the best of us. Happened to me a few weeks ago. Patriot thought you were dead. I thought you might have been getting laid. So turns out it's neither. But glad to hear you're okay.
Not as much fun as those things. Dead sounds like peace, and laid sounds like fun. So unfortunately, it was not either.
I permutated the ideas and thought you were getting it on in the gym, in the sauna or something. So it wasn't either of those things. But I'm glad you're okay, man. Because you've always been and it happens to me too. All right, shit happens. It's okay, no big deal.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was literally just sitting on another call, and then I saw my phone just blowing up, and I was like, "What is going on?"
I spread the rumor. I spread the rumor you were dead, so everyone started freaking out. That's I know how to get people motivated. He's dead. Make sure he's okay. All right, guys, this has been a banger of a conversation. Thank you, everyone. The next week, let me go here. We're going to have Vultisig on Saturday. And then the following week, we are going to do Thor Wallet. So we're going to be talking to all the friendly interfaces. Again, guys, please follow Cal. Please follow LeoDex on X. They're an absolutely amazing contributor. And I can vouch for something he said earlier. He said that he is a Rune maxi. He has been saying that consistently for a long time. So he is not just placating to the audience. He means it. He actually believes it. And he is a Rune bonder. He's a legend. Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Kenton. I hope everyone has a great rest of your weekend. This has been a very fun conversation. Take care, everyone. Bye now.